Hello, everyone, and welcome to the FIDE Women's Candidates coverage. I am Jennifer Shahadi, and I'm here with Irina Crush, and we have a very critical and important game today between Anna Muzychuk and Lei Tingxie. Irina, good morning.
Good morning, Jen. Yeah, we're on to game three of their semifinal match. This is going to be the last match that is played in Monaco. So it's quite important. They've got this game, another one tomorrow. And then if it's still tied, as it currently is, we will see an exciting day of tiebreaks.
Yeah, that definitely could be looming, Irina. Well, we've got two games already in the bag, and both of those games were drawn. Let's take a look at the bracket as we see that they are playing for the chance to get it a spot into the championship bracket where they will find a challenger to Ju Wenjun. Very exciting final that we're going to have in a couple of months. We're actually, no, about a month from now, right? Uzbekistan
Actually,
at the end of November.
well, yeah. So right now we're having Pool A being played out. Pool B is going to start at the end of the month in Uzbekistan, and then it's going to produce a winner. And then at some point next year, I think the winners of these two brackets are going to play a match with each other. I think it's a longer match actually. Instead of 4 games, it might be 6 games, and then that's going to produce the challenger to Ju Wenjun.
Right. So the Uzbekistan is going to produce the finalist, and then the actual Women's World Championship between Ju Wenjun and whoever wins this will also be in 2023, I believe. So there's a lot to look forward to. Anna Muzychuk, unfortunately for her, her sister was eliminated in the previous round to her opponent right now. So that kind of adds a little bit of a adjacent drama, right? And
Yeah,
uh,
definitely. It's kind of an interesting storyline that Lei Tingji eliminated Maria Muzychuk, and Anna Muzychuk had a very tough match against Humpy Koneru, getting through by the tie breaks, winning the final game in the tie breaks actually last Sunday. And so then she's trying to avenge her sister. So far, Jen, I would say it's been a very close match. There really haven't has been any drama yet on the board. I don't think we've seen any mistakes by these two ladies, and no one's had like a big advantage in either of the first 2 games. So, I mean, we're gonna see if we finally see, let's say, some mistakes or something spectacular happen in the third game of the match.
yeah, I mean, I love the openings they're playing, though. Actually, two of my favorite openings: the Sicilian in the first game and the Grunfeld in the second. So I'd love to see that repeat. Now, by the way, in addition to playing for that spot to challenge Ju and June, there is also some money at stake. In fact, $250,000 here, euros rather, which is pretty similar to the dollar last time I checked. 60,000 euros for the champion, indeed. And that is, yeah, 50,000. You see, there's not that big of a difference, Irina, because in the end of the day, what they're playing for is that chance to become women's world champion, which has no real price tag. It's a lifetime achievement.
Yeah, definitely. You see that in the candidates as well. The prizes are not so important compared to the overall prize of getting the match for the world championship. So, yeah, Jenna, about the openings in the match, I completely agree with you. The openings have been great. Lei Tingji switched to the Sicilian from the Petrov that she was using against Maria Muzychuk. Very interesting choice. And that was clearly a surprise for Anna Muzychuk because she decided not to go into an open Sicilian. She played a sideline with G3 in that first game. And, 2 days later, after, having time to work out something against the Sicilian, I'm hoping that we might see an open Sicilian today.
Oh, baby. I would love to see that. That's my favorite opening. I know that you love it as well. And, honestly, I think it's a great idea for Anna Muzychuk because she is so good on the attacking side.
That's
She has
true.
some fantastic, aggressive checkmating games. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is that when you're surprised by somebody in the opening completely like that, you really have no idea where they're trying to catch you, right? Because so many lines in the Sicilian and Black could choose. What is Lei going for? Anna doesn't really know, right? So even though she has a lot of experience on the white side of the open Sicilian, I think there is a natural hesitancy to go into waters where you just don't know where your opponent is trying to surprise you. And I don't know if today she's going to go for the open Sicilian or she's going to try another sideline, which is also something that is part of her repertoire. Lots of anti-Sicilian lines.
Oh, there's so many good anti-Sicilians. I mean, in particular, I've always had a soft spot for the C3 Sicilian. It's one of these openings that never really dies. It seems like it falls out in a fashion, but it's a pretty good one. I also think a lot of the closed Sicilian lines are pretty strong. So definitely a possibility, but let's make no mistake about it. We'd love to see an open Sicilian. Let's go. What do you
Yeah.
guys think of the chat? What do you think of the chat? What is Anna gonna try?
She can also try some kind of bishop b5. Well, she can't actually do a bishop b5 Sicilian, Jen, because like a
Yeah.
Rosalino, because actually Lei chose a line with e6
Yeah.
on move 2. So that takes that out of the equation. And actually she has played a lot of those bishop b5 lines. So basically when someone plays e6 against you, yeah, you either go for c3, g3, or you just go for the open with d4. So yeah, we're a few minutes away from the revealing opening choices.
Well, and by the way, let's take a look at our format here. It is an 8-player single elimination bracket knockout for the chance to play Ju Wenjun in the World Championship match. Each match is 4 games, so you get 2.5 points and you advance. The time control is 90 minutes plus a 30-second increment. And after 40 moves, the players are given that 30 minutes of bonus time. So this is currently tied 2-2. I'm sorry, 2, of course, 1-1. So they've made 2 draws. Possibly, I'm looking into the future. There is a high chance that there will either be a win by each player or 2 more draws, and we'll get an exciting playoff on Sunday. The ladies are playing in Monte Carlo, Monaco, and it's a beautiful place to play chess with so much at stake. Get a little French Riviera on your off day. Some beautiful sea air. Now, Irina, I got to say about E6 Sicilians, I think that the C3 lines are particularly effective against the E6 lines because
let me think, Jen.
Well, yeah.
Let me think why I'm particularly effective. Because D5 is less problematic. Yeah, because on D5, well, you have more choices. Yeah, you can even go for E5 there. Is that why?
Yeah. Yeah, there's more choices against a C3 Sicilian when you don't have your pawn committed to E6, right? That's
right.
all. So sometimes it's a bit annoying if your favorite line against a C3 Sicilian is not with E6, and then you have to play E6. Now you need 2 lines against a C3. So let's see what happens. By the way, the first move appears to be E4. That's a ceremonial move, but I believe it will also be the move.
Yeah, we got both players sitting at the board. They went through that ritual where an invited guest plays the first move on the board, and it's always leaves the players pretty bemused. They look really focused, both of them. Really just getting ready for that game to start. Anna always has that kind of like lean forward posture. I noticed that also during her match with Humpy when she's focused. So yeah, I mean, is there any chance she's not going to play E4? No, I think she went for E4. Let's get that first move up on the board. Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, I was wondering, I was like, maybe she'll try to change things up and play D4, but that's not super likely. Okay, so Lei sticks with the Sicilian and Anna.
Knight F3. Good stuff.
Right.
That's not your analysis board. She really did play Knight F3, right?
Yeah, she did play Knight F3.
All right. Here we go. E6.
E6, right. So I guess once the players prepare something for the match, they're not so likely to change it as we see. And now we have an open Sicilian, Jen.
Yes, bang. There we go. This is what we want, guys. This is going to be a really exciting game. No, why is the Open Sicilian such an exciting game? Well, because it creates such huge imbalances right from the start. I mean, we already have a massive imbalance. Black has a bigger center and white has more development and, you know, a lot of potential to quickly develop and even consider castling queenside.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find Jen to see if Lei has any experience in the Sicilian. I somehow am trying to look up her games and having trouble finding her games in the database. But it is uh, it is kind of a big change from going from E5 and the Petrov to going into the Sicilian in the next match. I mean, it's just definitely like as far as you can go in terms of openings, and you know, interesting choice by her for sure to like make such a big change from match to match.
Now, how about you? Have you played this particular Sicilian? I know you've played a lot of classical lines of the Sicilian. I have personally played both the Nidorf and the Dragon. I did play like this Taimanov Khan type of Sicilian once or twice. Actually, the reason I played it was because I was studying a lot of Judith Polgar games at the time, and she played it. Uh, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts on this line?
yeah. Well, that's okay. It's one of the lines I did add to my repertoire around 2010. So I have quite a bit of experience with it. I also used it against Maria Muzychuk in the final round of the Olympiad 4 years ago. We had a time it of that one didn't work out well, super well for me. I wound up losing that game. White played a line with bishop e3 and queen f3, which was very popular back then. It still is, I think, very popular with this kind of strange queen development early on in the game. But Anna goes for the more classical move, bishop e2. And interestingly, on this move, Jen, you don't really have to play the move a6 so quickly. I mean, you can play knight f6. And usually when white wants to go into these Scheveningen lines, they actually start with bishop e3 because that does make this a bigger threat. And then after a6, then they go bishop e2. And they try to get black to play a Scheveningen with the move e6 included. So Anna going bishop e2, Lei's a6 is not forced. And actually, you see, Anna decides to completely change the direction of the game with this capture on c6, which is a super popular thing to do in lots of Sicilian lines these days. It's a little bit like anti anti-classical chess understanding in the sense that you're strengthening black center, but the players basically think that the attack on the king side that you will eventually get, with these kinds of the space is going to counterbalance the black center, may even be stronger.
Yeah, that's right. It creates a really big dynamism right away in that black has an even stronger center, but white is going for, whoa, what happened there, Irina?
Yeah,
Quick queen trade?
okay, yeah. Well, that is, first of all, what's really, really funny. What's really funny is that this kind of queen trade on g3 is actually what Maria Muzychuk did against me in the Taimanov, despite the fact that it was a different line. So it's just quite a coincidence that Anna plays this exact same type of idea, very early queen trade into the end game. And yeah, like, okay, that was my final game against Maria at the Baku Olympiad. Also, she played g4 at some point. I remember being concerned about those moves because it might not seem like white has much, but it's definitely very annoying to be facing this g5 threat and the open h file.
Yeah, so even though it is a little disappointing not to have an open Sicilian with queen trades, there's still some attacking possibilities here for white. So lots of imbalances still on deck with the pawn structure and still a relatively rich position nonetheless. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt like it was not easy to play this kind of position as black. What's interesting is that Lei is playing quickly, right? So she doesn't seem that shocked by this line. I don't really know this line with this queen d3 move, right? So if this happened in my game, well, I mean, okay, this is a very common move against the Sicilian these days, right? As people look for new approaches, there's tons of lines where the queen comes out early to d3. So it's not a shocker completely. I'll just give you one example. I know it's not this position, but we got plenty of time. Like at the one example of queen d3, someone played that against me at the US women's. And for example, goes like well, there's different ones like this. I think you can go like, in the browser, right? You can actually, I think, Jen, there is a move like that instead of queen d2. You can go queen d3 here. And then I think there was also bishop b5, like another sort of beginner looking move that has become popular. And then queen d3. So queen d3, you're seeing this kind of move all the time in the Sicilian when it used to just not exist before.
Very
What's
interesting that it
yeah.
has these multi-purpose. I do see, by the way, that there was a game with this line by Alexander Motlev on the white side. So Russian Grandmaster, 2600 plus in this position as Anna Muzychuk played. Same idea of queen d3 to g3.
So is it just one game, or is it like, are there lots of games in this line?
Not a lot, not a lot. Just a couple of games, but recent games. So that could, of course, be why Lei Tingxie is well prepared. Probably had seen that one.
Yeah, very interesting that she has a little bit more time than Anna, which means that this line did not catch her by surprise. I would say good job on the preparation by Lei to be prepared against something fairly obscure like this.
It was played,
And
by the way, in Barcelona and the Sans Open. Actually, I was in Barcelona around that time. I was there for the European Poker Tour, and there's usually in August in Barcelona there's a big chess tournament.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna look up this line as well, Jen. But let's talk a little bit about what White is thinking about here, right? So the obvious move is g5, but then at some point, perhaps Black can actually just grab that pawn. Right. So the question for White, like, is this pawn hanging? And also, I guess another question for us is, after knight of 6g4, why wasn't this pawn captured, right? It's just a basic question. Obviously, White would take, and then White, how easy is it for White to actually regain this pawn? It's not obvious, is it, Jen?
It is not that obvious because the bishop on e2 makes it harder to play, like, for instance, g3 and bishop g2, which would be one way of recouing the pawn.
Yeah.
So what about, like, we could try to play g5 and rook h4. That would be one way of trying to regain the pawn.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Black always has f5 ideas, and if you don't have any preparation as White, I just think actually you would never enter this position as White without preparation. Because when I'm looking at it with like the naked eye, I don't think it's easy to regain the pawn. It's not obvious to me why White is better at all. So it's very clear that you only enter such a position with a specific prep. Let's try your move g5, right? So you want to go rook h4. I agree, very interesting. And
But you could play, I mean, you could try f5 right away, right?
Yep, that's what
With
I'm
the
thinking.
idea that if en passant, I can only play it for one move, so I better get that in. If I play rook h4 now, you do just have f5, and that could still be interesting though, because there is that bishop. Your king is still a little unsafe. Bishop h5 check, and bishop g5 followed by queenside castles, and suddenly, don't forget this is. It's not necessarily an endgame yet, right? We define the endgame by king safety more than we do by the fact that the queens are gone.
Yeah, wow. I mean, even like this, right? You can actually see White's compensation. The Black king is not able to get to safety. Castles is almost a checkmate threat. Not quite. You'll have to block with your bishop. I mean, I guess even the king though is going to have a hard time getting out of this, right? So there's definitely harmony problems, and then there's ideas of going there, ideas of trapping the rook. So I'm starting to see why taking the pawn was not such an obvious choice for Black. And that's why she played bishop b7. And Anna, after a little bit of a think, plays a4. So now Lei is thinking, and I'm guessing that both players are finally out of their prep.
A4, okay, huh?
Yeah,
Or
our audience is telling us that Matlikov played f3. a4 is a novelty. Interesting.
a4. What do you think the idea is there, Irina? To play a5 and rook a4 in order to regain the
Yeah,
pawn in situations? I mean, because we were trying it with g5, but the rook on h1 is already pretty good. So using the other rook to try to do the dirty work of recapturing the pawn makes a lot of logical sense.
it does. But the bishop here, the question is which move is more useful? Is it the bishop development or the pawn move? So let's try again. Jen, I do think taking that pawn is always a kind of a critical test. And now, do we go a5? I suppose we do, right? That must be the idea?
Yeah, I think so. I think we go, well, I think we go a5. I mean, bishop e4 check doesn't seem to do anything. We could just play c3, kick you away.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this looks very harmonious. I like the feel of it. A c5 though is what you've got up your sleeve, trying
Mm-hmm.
to just simply protect the pawn. Okay.
Yep. Trying to protect the
What
pawn.
about, it's funny, I'm looking at rook a3 and then c4, rook a4. Just a little twisty dance there with the rook.
Yeah, rook a3. So where are you trying to go? I might even castle a queenside, I guess. Although, I mean, yes, all my pawns are weak. I understand that. Let's say you go rook a3.
Oh, I could also go rook h3, by the way. Similar idea. I mean, I was thinking just trying to get my rook into the game. Rook h3, rook b3, rook b6, something like
Mhm.
that,
Okay, so let's
Yeah.
try that. That makes sense as well. So you want to go there. So should I castle a queenside? All right, let's try to castle a queenside. I mean, it does get my rook into the game, protects my bishop.
Right. Okay. And now if I go rook b3 anyway, with again just the simple idea of playing rook b6 and trying to capture your a pawn. Like I'm thinking like in guys, the thing about chess is that in the middle game, the center pawns are more important. But as we approach the middle game, I'm happy to have the a pawn instead of the e pawn.
Yeah, and I think an important thing is that you always have this bishop f4 resource. So I have to be kind of careful about putting pieces on this diagonal. So let's try bishop d6. I mean, I'm not liking where I'm going too much. Maybe you just go bishop e3, in fact, and then like rook b6. Maybe we even see some exchange action.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
see. That
I
could
was
be very interesting. Rook b6, bishop c7, rook a6. You're
yeah,
thinking,
like rook a6. Yeah, I do think it is an
or bishop
interesting. Mm-hmm.
or bishop a6. I mean that's possible too, right? Bishop
Yeah,
a6, bishop b6, pawn b6. I'm not sure which one's better.
yeah. Well,
Huh.
let's try let's try them both. So there's this one. I suppose something like that. Okay, this one, the eval bar seems to like black. Everything is fine. Should we try the other way to sack the exchange? Wait.
Evil bar likes it even more. Well, I think the problem probably is like bishop b6. Oh, what? Really? What?
What? Yeah.
They don't like bishop b6 here. They
Oh,
see
I
something
trapped
better.
your rook. I trapped your rook, Jen.
Ah, easy game. Easy game. You get the
Nice.
I have to play now I have to play rook b6, but I don't get the pawn for it now. So then I just down in exchange for nothing and totally lost. Okay,
Yeah.
so perhaps my little rover is a little bit ambitious, artificial, but that's what the analysis board is for, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what if, I mean, what if you just, instead of going rook b6, you start with bishop e3?
That's a cool move. Yeah. So I'm down a pawn here. That is a problem. I'm down a pawn, but certainly some compensation on deck.
Yeah, I mean, okay, actually, you even want to maybe go rook here. So you kind of like can say, oh, I got my rook in. And also, Jen, I guess that also tells us like maybe even rook c3 is a move. I don't know. Rook c3, okay, I can probably save that pawn with king b8, but I would say rook c3 and bishop e3 is definitely also an idea.
And by the way, Lei Ting is sinking into a deep think. This is her first think of the game. I should take this opportunity to point out that we do have lots of time to take your questions. We are going to be moving to Chesscom events later on. So if you want to watch Chesscom live, rather. So if you want to stream squad and watch both this and the action in Toronto starting in about an hour, please do plan ahead for that. But yeah, we've got a lot of great questions coming in, so we'll keep our eyes on those questions and comments.
Jen, I did look up this line finally while you were while you gave me a chance, and I see also not only Matyilov played this, there's also yes, as our audience mentioned, Matlikov played this line with Queen G3, and also Hans Niemann is the first one in 2022 to play this line against Hjorvar Grettersen in the Reykjavik Open. And, maybe Bishop B7, Bishop B7 is not the novelty. It really might be this move, A4, right? So A4.
Yeah, that's what they said, that A4 was a novelty, yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. So Anna brought, again, A4 is not really the kind of move you make in 1 minute or even 2 minutes over the board. So I think that she is familiar with these ideas. And I'm also going to check to see what's the earliest game this has been played. Has it really just been introduced in 2022 or has it been played before? I think there's a good chance it just played this year, Jen, because all these ideas are very modern with Queen D3, Queen G3.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, it's kind of like in general, the old wisdom was that generally early queen trades in the Open Sicilian were favorable for the black player because we have a better center. I mean, I'm saying I love to play the Sicilian. Usually black has a very strong center and white has more space. And that means that white tends to be a little better in the middle game and black tends to be better in the end game. But as we know, in modern chess, all of the tends to, probably, usuallys are out the window as you look for very specific lines and try to take advantage of your opponent's preparation. So that's probably why people didn't discover it until recently.
Yeah, that's right, Jen. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of changes in people's approach to the Open Sicilian, like things that 20 years ago, you would never see so many like A3s and H3s and Queen D3s, but there's new paths being laid out. Like, it kind of would seem like heretical to do that, a couple of decades ago.
Well, he's still in the tank is Lei Ting-Shay here after the move A4, the novelty.
Okay.
We got some comments coming in. Women can make more money if they aren't. Well, I'm going to skip that one, actually. Who is the best female player in the world? Well, that's what we're here to find out. Annie knows. Of course, there's Yuta Polgar, who's retired, but there's also Ho Yifan, who's not playing in the cycle. Fantastic, though. Ju Wenjun, though, she is the women's world champion right now. And she, in particular, seems to really excel in the world championship format. So she's won in incredible style, not only in the classical match, but even in the knockout format, Irina. So she's a great champion to try to beat.
Yeah. You know what is interesting? Okay, I'll give you a little bit of a history of this line. It seems to have been played for the first time in a Blitz game at the World Blitz Championship in Moscow 2019. I actually played in that one. And the player playing white was Vavulin, I guess a Russian GM. Not familiar with him. He was playing against Evgeny Alexeyev, who is kind of a more known name in chess. And at that point, after D5, G4, not everyone started off by playing that. So that's sort of like a choice for white. And white played something different with Bishop D3. Then we have another top player playing this in the Nations Cup online 2020. That's actually also another event I played in. But this one is Karyakin versus Corey. And Karyakin seems to be the first person to introduce the G4 move in this line, and that was a rapid event. He did win that game, And so it's actually been used by quite a lot of Russian players in 2021. Well, okay, when I say quite a lot, actually one guy used it multiple times, Alexei Sarana. But also, Jen, it was actually employed by Feruzia in his great event at the end of 2021 in the European Team Championship against Master Vasilis. And that went a little bit differently. I'll tell you where that differed. So he actually immediately took on d5 and played bishop f4. So he had like a different approach, although at some point he did push g4 as well. So that's so basically this line, guys, it has gotten the attention of the top players, so it's not a total shock that Anna is going for this, for something so topical. And it's also
I was saying after A4, it looks like Lei Ting-Che has been thinking for over 10 minutes now. What do you think our candidates are here, Irina? Can she be considering, because we obviously are looking at taking an E4, but what about playing A5 herself?
Yeah, so basically A4 I really do think is an innovation. Like from all the games I saw, I just didn't really see this concept. G4 is such a natural move for whites. I mean, that's kind of the whole concept, to open up the rook on the file, push that pawn. That one we've seen, but A4 is really a twist. So this is, undoubtedly Anna's preparation. Now, in terms of what they can do other than knight E4, okay. Well, I think D4 is definitely a move you got to check out because it's basically an attempt to win the pawn in a different way. I think C5 is a move you want to check out. I mean, just opening up this bishop. I think
bishop B4.
Yeah. There's really a lot to think about for black, actually. There's so many possibilities. But I guess we should always start with like the most forcing, right, Jen? So here we go. Let's go.
So if D4, the idea is it to play E5 or G5 in this position?
Yeah, I would guess that it's something like E5. Yeah.
Oh. E5 or G5. So takes, because aren't we losing a pawn potentially here? So if takes on C3, takes on F6.
Wow, what is going on here? Hold on. Are we going to be able to guess any moves correctly? So E5.
Well, you could play knight G4, right? That's a possibility here. Knight takes G4, kind of kamikazing the knight before taking on C3.
Yeah.
To try to keep things. That might be a good move because it closes diagonal. I mean, the B2 diagonal, which was opening up in the other lines. So now what's the pawn count here?
It's even. It's even, but white has the better pawns.
Yeah. White has those doubled C pawns that she's saddled with. Now she does have some open lines to compensate for those, but we're compensate, not necessarily have a better position. So
yeah. Okay. 1 second. I see someone says, at least you could do your hair before going live. Let me tell you, I did my hair. I did it the way I like it. So I hope you like it too.
I think it's great. It looks amazing, but maybe they were talking about me.
No, they're talking about me.
They're talking about me.
No, he said something like GM Crush. He put the @ GM Crush, so I was like,
okay.
I figured it out that it was meant for me.
Why do men never get comments like that? Come on.
It's been pretty funny, Jen. We've had a lot of funny comments this morning. I guess people are just getting it out of their system.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much to all the mods who are kind of keeping it lovely as it can be, and to everyone who's correctly calling out inappropriate comments. We're trying here to grow the game, and particularly among women and girls, and it's so important for them to have a positive environment for that, right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. I agree. All right. So let's get back to the chess, guys.
But by the way, people are saying that don't listen to the trolls. Your hair is epic. Love that. Yeah, it's epic hair, epic opening. But okay, what's going on? D4, E5. Is E5 correct or is G5 better?
Right.
Because we were
So
just looking at e5, knight takes g4, begging the
exactly.
question,
So
can we
this one
play
is probably
g5?
better. Yeah, because that doesn't allow this knight sack over here. Okay. So now black has to either move the knight back, scurry away to d7, or they keep taking. Okay, if they take, white takes. I think, well, yeah, I kind of like this more for white, obviously, because this is not nearly as good a pawn structure for black as the other one. Here, white has this beautiful H file to work with, despite the doubled pawns. Um,
And the b
so,
file. Like the
yeah,
b file is really cool too.
yeah, that's right. And kind of like this bishop has trouble because even if you play c5, there's going to be f3. The bishop's going to stare into the pawn chain. So white is better here. So d4, basically g5, right? Now if you move the knight, what's the issue there? You move the knight, where's our knight going to go?
Well, I guess we don't have that many options here. They all look kind of sad.
Yeah.
But I think knight b1 in a way looks like the
Yeah.
happiest because we're kind of leaning towards d2 and c4, and the position's relatively close, so we can take the luxury of giving 3 moves to reroute our knight to a happy square.
Yeah, I guess when I look at this position, I'm like, why does white have the advantage? Because black seems, let's say, pretty good in the center, right? So the advantage is actually, I think, coming from this pawn and this pressure on the H file. And I also found that really annoying in my game with Maria Muzychuk, this whole idea of like letting the opponent have such a strong pawn on G5. Although I just made a couple of moves and already managed to get the eval bar to be equal. So I thought I did something pretty natural with knight D2. Maybe that's a mistake. Maybe we need to protect this pawn in a different way, Jen, like F3. But actually, Lei has made her choice, and she has gone for a move that we didn't even get to considering. She played bishop e7.
I actually saw in the chat somebody had mentioned that that was a top engine choice, just chilling. I mean, it's funny because there are so many aggressive moves, and after a very long think, she chooses a normal-looking developing move, which just goes to show her class. One of the ideas I take it is that there's a little bit of pressure on the G5 pawn if we play G5 that maybe she can take advantage of later.
Yeah,
Let's look at.
it's a developing move. I wonder if she wants to castle. Is that a possibility? I mean, you definitely are not in a rush to castle in the end game. It's not even clear which way you would castle, but it is an option, I suppose. And so she really doesn't go for one of the forcing moves, right? So now we get to see like what is Anna's idea with this move? Is she just going to go a5?
So we have lots of
Uh,
options here. We could
hmm,
play G5 now, right? If
yes.
G5, and remember I said earlier that I was trying to go rook H4, but that A4 opened the idea of A5 and rook A4. So if we play G5 and you take twice on E4 and we play A5,
Mhm.
that has to be considered.
Can I also add, Jen, that I think that one of the points of this move actually is to threaten this move. Now d4 is the
Aha,
threat. Yeah, because the bishop is much better positioned to recapture on f6.
right,
So white has
right.
to basically solve the problem of that move.
We could also take on d5 at this point because we could like take on d5. Even though we're giving you a rock star center, we are going to follow it up immediately with g5 to kind of destabilize your knight. I guess you could just go back to d7, but I was hoping to somehow get a quick g6 in. Just, try like so g5, knight d7. I guess if I play bishop g4, it's too obvious what my intent is.
Yeah, yeah,
And like I want to play g6.
yeah.
Uh yeah, that doesn't quite work out. What about bishop d3? You just play g6 yourself there?
Well, do I need to defend that pawn, Jen? That's the question, right? Because actually I could go knight e5.
Right, good point. And then I can't really take on h7 because I'm trapped. Okay, let's try again. So not that. What else do I want to do
Mhm.
here?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this kind of center looks so impressive for black, but it could be this. Well, okay, first of all, this is a threat, right? So we got to do something about that.
Like bishop f3 or something like that.
Yeah, well, again, bishop f3 is always met by knight e5.
Yeah, I
So,
don't like this position for white. I don't
oh,
like it.
you
I
know
mean,
what I
but the
think it is? It's like rook. It must be rook h4, but then there's h6.
no, I think there's something the computer likes something here, but it looks bad to me. And so I mean, what does the
Yeah,
computer know anyway?
right.
The engine does like this. But yeah, for a human, this looks not so great. Maybe just bishop e3. Maybe just develop.
Yeah, and then like e5. I mean, you seriously got to wonder what about like this d4
Yeah, what
knight here?
about it? I mean,
Maybe.
now maybe bishop g4 is not such a bad idea because like, you can't go knight e5 anymore, and maybe if d4. I was thinking I could like take in castle, but no,
Mm,
that doesn't really work either.
maybe
So
like
probably
that,
your move,
Jen.
yeah, more bishop f3.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like now when I go there, you get like d4 square. It's
Yeah.
kind of complicated. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's very anti-intuitive. In general, taking on c6 and helping black capture toward the center and trading queens. Feels um, it feels not natural to a chess player. But on the other hand, I think having the pawn go from h2 to g4, that does feel very good. Having the rook opened up, that's very nice. But, again, black's strength in the position is the big center. And white is kind of trying to create problems from the flank.
Everybody, we've got a lot of people joining us. I'm Jennifer Shahadi. I'm here with Irina Crush. We are in the FIDE Women's Candidates. We're in round 3 of this match, which will determine who pulls ahead to the finals, which will determine the challenger to Ju Wenjun. So far, there's been true draws. This game, if there is a decisive result, will be very ominous for the loser, right? Because there's only one more game tomorrow, one more classical game tomorrow. Question, Irina, do you feel like either player is more excited about the potential playoff? Do you
Oh,
think
I don't
one of
know. I mean, are players ever excited about the playoffs? I mean, it's so stressful to be in one. I would be so shocked, Jen, if players were actually excited about having to play a playoff. It's so stressful and difficult, so much work to prepare. I'm sure they each would love to end the match before then.
well, yeah, well, that would certainly be ideal, right? For either player playing white now, Anna Muzychuk, hoping to pull ahead, but can she? Well, this endgame, this choice is turned out to be pretty cagey, and that she did cause her opponent to take a very long think. And it looks like on the live board we do have a move, and she did indeed take on d5, a kind of a counterintuitive move in a way, but
Oh no,
also in another.
she hasn't played it yet, Jen. That was just
Oh,
our
sorry.
analysis.
Okay, okay, got it. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, she's
I
still
think
thinking.
I think the move is counterintuitive for sure. It's a it's just giving up the entire center. But on the other hand, there are these ideas of taking on e4 or playing d4. So if not taking on d5, what?
Yeah, okay. Right.
e5
So
right away?
let's just answer the question. When you play these super long classic matches, the last hours, how do you stay focused? I'm thinking about Nepo G3. I can't remember exactly Nepo G3, what you're talking about. But in general, guys, there's a lot to think about when you play chess, right? Like if you're in these players' shoes and you're like, we didn't even get a chance to talk about this move for lay because there was so much to figure out with like these kinds of more forcing moves, right? So there's a lot to think about on the chessboard, right? So your mind is occupied, and it's really not that hard to stay focused, right, Jen?
Not that hard to stay focused for how many hours? I mean,
Uh,
I think it's probably one of the most difficult tasks of a chess player. And it's like the reason why knowledge does not always equate to chess success. because you really need that mental game and that ability to focus. Maybe for people where for whom it's easier, it seems easy. I mean, that's a tautology, but focus, I think, can be very difficult for people.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, if focus seems like quite pretty much um, part and parcel of being a player. I guess maybe what's difficult, I guess, from my point of view, is the mental fatigue, right? So when you are playing for some hours, you do get tired. It's not that your focus goes down; it's just that your mental fatigue level goes up.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think Gary Kasparov said that he thought that concentration was the number one talent of a chess player, that ability to concentrate so fully and so intensely for long hours. But I also think that one of the reasons I think chess is a really good game for children, especially kids from marginalized communities, girls, is because chess, I do think, is like kind of a gateway into total concentration. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like it like locks your brain in a little bit and like shuts everything out. So, that's a really good skill to have in life, especially now because we're constantly distracted by so many different types of notifications and
Yeah.
calls and messages. So, really, really beautiful game. Like it's interesting to hear you say that you think it's easy because you've been playing chess since you were 5. So it's kind of like riding a bike for you. And I'd like it to see it be like that for
Yeah.
everyone.
Well, yeah, chess developed that in me. I think, that's just what it gives, everyone who spends their life in it. And I agree with you, Jen, that it's super valuable for kids. And especially, yeah, these days, I see the changes, like even in myself, right? Like I used to read books. I almost had this nickname bookworm when I was a kid. It was my favorite activity. But now I read Twitter. And, just like it's easier to scroll through the news on Twitter than to find the time to read like a whole book. And so I feel like chess is one of those things, like when you're actually playing a classical game for 4 or 5 hours, it's, one of the last things remaining on earth that you can just, concentrate on like fully for so long.
Yeah, I mean, books and journalism is so great. So yeah, it's like I think it's so important to kind of remember that. And chess is like also that great body of knowledge and its literature and its practice. By the way, somebody else actually echoed that thought because they said that they bought Chess Queens a couple months ago, but Twitch has destroyed their attention span and they haven't started reading it. Well, good news for you is that Chess Queens is actually an audiobook as well. So you could always listen to it while playing bullet games.
Yeah.
You might have to like replay some chapters though when you're in the thick of those bullet games.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
I guess like also one thing that's partly replaced books are like podcasts, right? Because right now podcasts are, they can go like an hour or too long and just give you lots of great information like a book used to do. So um that's a pretty decent replacement for books these days.
No, but yeah, I agree. Podcasts are great. There's a lot of great podcasts, but audiobooks have really kind of a lot of people are addicted to audiobooks. And I have to say that books I think are very special, even though I don't read as much as I'd like to. I think reading is kind of like chess in that it gives you the impetus to really think on your own. Like you have to kind of like interact with the material in a way that is like so special. So yeah, you guys should definitely be inspired to check out Chess Queens or whatever book you've been meaning to read over the holidays. Like make it happen.
Yeah.
I saw that FIDE just awarded a best book of the year. And I thought
So
that was
so what?
it was The Secret. It was something like had something like called The Secret of
The
The
secret
Secret
ingredient
Ingredient.
to winning
Yes,
at
yeah.
chess. Are you serious, Jen? I just got that book. Yeah, here.
Uh-huh.
Can
Uh-huh.
you guys see it? I don't know on the video. Oh yeah, here it is. Um, so yeah, I picked it up actually. It seemed interesting to me. It's by Jan Marcos and David Navarra, and it definitely is an interesting look into the minds of top players. I think that's what they're trying to do here. And yeah, I just got it a couple of days ago and only read first few pages.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, well, I'm excited to check it out. Reading books for chess. You need to do it all on a board anyway. Chess
You know,
tactics.
guys, I'm surrounded by chess books. Like, all I got to do is reach over, and here we get improve your chess calculation, a Ramesh RB. I picked up one position from there. It was like too hard. And then, okay, a million other things I got.
Oh, G5 has just been played, by the way. Although I will say reading chess books is a bit different than reading a regular book, because reading a chess book is like part of your chess training. And also you can kind of chunk it up, because reading a chess book could take you like a whole month otherwise.
Yeah.
G5 played here, but most chess books don't have audiobook versions, because if you try to do that analysis while you're driving or exercising, you might like fall off the treadmill, or even worse, if you're in a car. I love how my good friend Ben Johnson, who has the most popular chess podcast, the Perpetual Chess Podcast, sometimes he has these segments where he makes people do blindfold positions, and before each one, he's like, "Guys, if you're driving, you probably should skip this part."
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
Because
so
G5 knight takes E4 is on the board, it looks like.
okay, so G5, and they're actually even on the clock, and Lei decided now is the time to take. So we did consider this move earlier, and earlier we were looking at the idea of lifting this rook up, right, to try to go there.
Yes.
I think that was it. Also, wait, did we also have this idea of putting the
A5.
pawn there? Yeah, that was our first idea, maybe starting with that move. No.
We were looking, I think you were castling queenside, which was what incited me to try rook h3. But in this position, sure, like, I think, just starting with something like A5 seems sensible. We could also just like, what other options are there?
Yeah, I mean,
rook
h4 probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a lot of reasons. First of all, there's h6. Yeah. Okay, so after pawn takes, what do we do? I mean, let's try a5 again, because I think that must be the idea of putting the pawn on a4 to begin with.
Yeah, at least at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were castling queenside in this position, if I recall correctly. Yeah, that was exactly what we looked at, castles queenside. I think the only difference was the bishop wasn't on e7 yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how big of a difference that will make.
So how did we ever get the rook there? We got it. Did we go with this rook? I think it was that rook. I think we were doing like this.
Yeah, we did. We did
it's
do that.
incredible how tricky this position is. And Anna plays bishop e3.
Yeah, she's just chilling. She's not like in a rush to regain that pawn. She just thinks that like she has permanent compensation here, so just like finish developing. Well, that's kind of a cool concept. Asking really like which way are you going to castle? Because that's going to give me a lot of information about where I should post my rooks. Okay, I like that concept. And also she knows that in order to defend the e4 pawn, Lei Ting might have to play c5. And now the bishop on e3 is hitting that square, making it more of a potential target. So a very high class move there.
Yeah, very simple move, developing that bishop and kind of waiting to see what black will do. I hate the pressure that white has on this pawn. It's so annoying for black that their rook cannot move. They cannot play h6, right? That's really an issue. But okay, Jen, let's make a move. Let's think of something that makes sense here. Is this move possible? Is a5 a possible move for black, or is it just kind of weakening the pawn? You know what, Jen? Let's just try it. Since it's not my game, I'm free to try that move.
Yeah. Okay. And
maybe even bishop a6.
You're thinking about playing bishop a6. Okay.
Maybe. I mean, I know that like I put my pawn in a dark square, so I get it that when I only leave the dark squared bishops on the board, that may be not optimal, but I am up a pawn here, so I want to see how you're going to get it back.
I wonder if I could just give up another pawn. I would like play like g6 and bishop c4, that kind of thing. And then if you
Yeah.
I'm not, guys. I'm not using an engine, so this just could be a really stupid idea. But I'm trying to think about the fact that your development is still stalled, right? And if you have to play like King F7, the thing is, maybe I need a little bit more development before I try like ideas like that. But it's getting close. It's getting close for something like that to work. Because think about it:
Mhm.
G6, F takes G6, Bishop C4. If you're forced to play King F7, if I had a Rook on D1, I would be ready to play Rook D7 there, and then you'd be crying,
Yep.
right?
I just castled Jen to help you play
Yeah,
that move. Hmm.
exactly. And the cool thing is, if you play something like Rook D8 here, now I have that Bishop B6 move. So I'm kind of trying to like combine my aggressive ideas on both sides of the board, right?
Yep. And so here, apparently, white has a big advantage. Well, let's try to understand why. I think it's just because we finally win that pawn. I
Right. If you win that
very
with
close to
no,
winning that pawn. Yeah. How do we do it though, Jen? How do we win that pawn?
because if we play Rook H4, you still have your little H6 move, which is a bit
Yeah.
annoying. Yeah.
I mean, maybe
Um,
white is still better there, but
Possibly, but I'd prefer to try something better.
okay. So better. I mean,
Rook,
bishop
can you play
d4.
just Rook D4 or just Rook D4 instead of Rook H4? Rook on D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rook d4 is a little bit different, right? Because I don't know. I was thinking I could trade. Like, how much better are you in this rook endgame?
Well, I mean, both of my rooks are better than your rooks.
Yeah,
So is that enough though, right? I don't know.
it's a lot.
Uh
It is a lot. It's really
yeah.
amazing that it's like it seems like I traded off all my problematic bishops, but my rooks are still extremely problematic, and your pawn structure is way better here. So honestly, yeah, like white has a pretty sizable edge. I guess that eval bar is probably showing like what, like more than a pawn edge for white, which is substantial. Okay, that answers my question, Jen, about why this idea of a5 is not the best. Let's try something else. Ah, should I go c5? Should I open up my other bishop, or should I just castle queenside? All right, let's go c5, Jen. I mean, I can't really see myself like, having this bishop forever staring into the pawns, right? So c5.
So C5 is your analysis, not her move yet, right?
Yep, it's my analysis.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you gonna go
And like
a4 maybe?
A5, you mean? Or
a5.
castles? Or castles.
Yep.
Let's see. Well, let's try castles.
Okay. So castles, maybe I go bishop c6. You play. I don't know, what does bishop c6 do? Not very much. Bishop d5. Kind of go c4. All right, Jen. Here you go. Let's try this plan.
So just trying to induce me
Mm-hmm.
to play C4 and
Yeah.
then ask the question whether I'm happy about life after that. Let's see.
Yeah, I think you're not going to be as happy. It'll be slightly less happy when that bishop is blocked on e2.
Exactly. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so what else can I try here? I'm trying to look for something active to do here. Not that easy to see, right?
Right? It's not that easy to see.
To see something active, I don't see it because I can't. I'm trying desperately to find a way to play G6, but it doesn't really seem like it's happening
Yeah.
for me. Can I do
Yeah.
something slow?
I mean, we can see what the computer says here. It doesn't have any amazing recommendations, actually. So, main recommendations are to try to win the h7 pawn. So, suddenly to switch the attention to that. So, let's try that. Like rook h3.
Oh yeah. Okay, so just
Yeah.
double rooks basically.
Yeah, try to win that pawn. Okay, so it's not easy for me to keep that pawn unless I want to walk over my king, which I don't know if I mean, I guess you can do it and try to put the king on g7 ultimately. Because okay, let's see if I give up the pawn, Jen. If I go here, and I essentially give up the pawn to you. Okay, I mean, I blundered bishop d4, but I mean, let's say I go king d7. No, I can't go king d7. How do I make this happen, Jen? I basically want to give up the pawn and play g6. So I need to put my rook's protected, so I basically don't have to do anything. I can go. Or maybe king f8. King f8, like you take, I take, and I can go either g6, which is bad and loses.
Because I have bishop takes c4 or something. Yeah, or I could just.
You have bishop d4 somewhere. You have like rook
Yeah.
h8, king g7, bishop d4, which doesn't look very good.
No, boy, you'd have to play f6 there, and that looks like all the wheels are falling off. Indeed.
Yeah. So rook h7, perhaps just king g8. I mean, now what's going on here? Like, white got the pawn back, but I think black improved.
Yeah, it's like you gave me the pawn back, and now I don't have the pressure. I got the pawn back, but now I don't have pressure on the pawn. That's so annoying.
By the way, I wonder, Jen, should we play rook b8, or where do we want this pawn to be, on a6 or a5? That's the question.
Neither. We want to trade it off for the a pawn. By the way, shout out to Grandmaster Jeffrey Zhang in the chat.
Hey, Jeffrey.
He says this position looks quite promising for white. Many options in the current position. So yeah, we're noticing that. It's like, it seems like white has a lot of choices, and they all are good or okay for her. So that's a tough spot for black to be in, right? That flexibility.
So black decided to castle queenside. So we mentioned that move was possible. We didn't even get around to looking at it because we were too busy looking at these pawn moves. So castle's queenside on the board. And yeah, all right. It's an interesting move.
Well, it stops me from castling queenside, and I was trying to do that. And it also prevents any type of ideas like g6, because now it can simply be taken by the h pawn. So obviously the move has a lot of pluses. It does weaken the a pawn.
Yeah, like for example,
and it allows.
If the rook gets attacked, you can go to d5. Oh, wow. This is played so fast by Anna. I mean, it's just interesting. Is it so obvious? I guess. I mean, just to go king e2 and stop rook d5. I guess it's obvious enough as a move.
Okay. Yeah, that is very, very sharp of Anna. I mean, she's not looked at this exact position, but so many positions like it, and is being very, very clever here and trying to play the good moves quickly to potentially get a time advantage.
All right, you know what I'm interested in? Am I crazy? But I really want to look at these types of exchange sacks. Like, I'm just very curious about this type of position. So, like, let's say, I mean, I guess it's worse. Okay, I don't want to. I do get that sense, but it's still kind of an interesting idea, right? To sack the exchange, to undouble your pawns, and get the bishop and pawn for the rook.
Well, that would be a fascinating twist in the action, Irina. We're going to be back, but first we're going to take a quick break. But I would like to remind everyone that the Chess.com Global Championship is coming to a head in Toronto, and the live finals resume in an hour with 500,000 on the line. Who will come out on top? I mean, after the upsets we've seen, it's truly anyone's game. Don't miss a minute. Including a special guest appearance from the one and only Fabiano Caruana. That's going to be right here on twitch.tv/chess. You can type CGC finals in the chat for the details. And of course, we're also going to be continuing our coverage of this critical game. And that's going to be moving over to Chesscom Live. So please do follow both. And we'll be right back in a few minutes with all of that.
Check out Chess.com's newest mobile release for Android and iOS, now with Game Review. Game Review is a fast, fun, and instructive guided review of your games. See your accuracy and your opponent's accuracy. Check out the eval graph for an instant overview and scroll down to see how many great moves, best moves, blunders, and yes, brilliancies you have played. Learn from Chess.com's coach who gives move explanations, opening statistics, and shows you the best lines of play. Use retry mistakes to get another shot at finding missed opportunities. Game Review is available today on both Android and iOS. Download our app and try it yourself.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our coverage of the 2022 FIDE Women's Candidates as we are searching for a challenger to Ju Wenjun. These two women are poised to get closer to that Anna Muzychuk and Lei Tingche, but they're so far tied 2-2. Well, 2 draws each in their mini match. And with 2 games left to go, we could see a playoff looming if they continue playing this well. What would that look like? Whatever it is.
Well, we saw a playoff between Humpy Conero and Maria Muzychuk, so we know a little bit about the format. They played 4 games of rapid chess at 15 minutes plus 10-second increment. That match ended after 4 games, but if they're still tied, you then go on to 2 games of 5 plus 3, then 1 game of 3 plus 2, and finally you play until there is a decisive result. So potentially we could see a lot of games of chess, and it's definitely a very non-random system, Jen, in the sense that it's just like keeps going and going, and it doesn't take you like to an Armageddon game immediately.
Yeah, there's no possibility for Armageddon. I mean, listen, any kind of tiebreak format has its flaws, but I do love the concept that eventually there will be a winner over the board and that it will always include an increment. That's pretty cool that they managed to fit those criteria. And we'll be in for a treat if we get to that because with such high stakes and such quick games, it's always very exciting. Let's see, though. Before that, we, of course, have the potential for somebody to come out and pull ahead. And in this game, it seems that with the white pieces and very good preparation, Anizu Muzychuk would be the more likely one to win. But really, anything can happen if she pushes too hard, right? So bishop to c4 was just played. And now it is Lei Tingche figuring out how to kind of stymie Annie Muzychuk's pressure in this position, which is kind of coming from both sides. That's the interesting thing, right? We've got g5 and a4, and our pressure on both sides of the board is compensating for this pawn that black still has to the good on e4.
Yeah, so bishop c4, I think the idea is simply to clear up that square for the king, connect the rooks, control also d5 square. And I did consider sacrificing my rook there anyway, but that doesn't give you quite enough compensation. And I think, Jen, it's actually because we still have the residual problems on the H file. It's such an annoying open file for black. So it's definitely a more challenging position for Lei to play. You can actually see in the body language as well. Like I feel, Lei is very, very tense and focused on solving these problems, and Anna is more comfortable, more confident about her position. And now it's a big moment for black. Let's try to figure out what black could do here. King c7, never a really good idea because of a5, bishop b6, so you don't really have that square. I think opening up this bishop makes sense. So c5 is a move. I mean, at some point you want to open this guy up, right? I don't know. How long can you sit with that pawn on c5? King e2.
Yeah. c5 seems like a really clever idea for sure.
Yeah, maybe clever or maybe not. Like, who knows? Maybe you're going to go c3, Jen, and b4, and then I won't feel so clever.
Or I would love to play rook h5 and g6 and bishop c5, but unfortunately, it's like rook h5 is like it's like such an obvious point. Although seriously though, what if rook h5 with the idea that I want to just play like
double
g6?
Rooks?
Yeah, double rooks and get some action going on both sides of the board.
I agree. Actually, I got nothing against this idea at all. This is why, Jen, actually, can I just go back for a second? I was really interested in this move here, like not going anywhere with the king, but just trying to solve the problem of the bishop, trying to put the bishop there. Now, you actually can do that because your rook is still holding that pawn. And we seem to have better success with that line, right? But she went for castles queenside, and now she goes for h6. So she's trying to give away the pawn. Yeah, that makes sense. Also trying to get a rook trade and simplify the position a bit. And now the question is, Jen, is there a move like G6 that you've been talking about, or is it just as simple as taking the pawn?
Good question. I mean, both look compelling, I have to say, but a lot of options here for white. In almost every variation, there are multiple options that seem kind of compelling for white. Hey, do you want to see how we got here? Because I know some people are joining us. They're going to be tuning in to the Global Chess Championships that are going to be restarting soon. And this is for them a little bit of a beautiful pregame. And people are always interested in how we got here, because it was a very thrilling opening. My favorite opening, the Open Sicilian, and in fact, a game type of line that you yourself have championed, Irina, the Taimana variation, where you develop. This is a bit weird for people, though. So you've actually developed only pieces on the queen side, even though your intent is not necessarily to castle queen side. So try to explain that. Why are you developing only pieces on the queen side?
Okay.
And leaving all your guys at home.
That's a good question, Jen. Well, that I think comes back to the fundamental nature of the Open Sicilian, which is that Black has this half-open c-file, which is a big source of play. And because of that, they also constantly have ideas of expansion on the queen side. So the queen side is just generally Black's area of play in the Sicilian. Now, why in particular are you moving out the queen so early? It's actually a very specific reason. You're trying to control that square, because there is a line, in fact, like if you want to develop in a more classical way, you're free to do so, but you got to deal with this trade and then white advancing to attack the pawn, to attack the knight. And that's like a whole big theoretical line, totally different. I played this at the American Cup once for Black earlier this year. Crazy line. Okay, I guess I'll tell you, like, how crazy is it? Well, it's so crazy that white's king actually goes there, and that's the theory. And I mean, it's not a normal position at all where the king goes up the board and sometimes even goes to f3. But the problem is there are no better ways to guard the check, because unfortunately, the tactics don't allow it. So if you want to enter this crazy line, you could play knight f6, but that's the thing that it invites. Well as also you might get a transposition into a Sveshnikov variation like this.
Oh yeah, I love this. This is a very fun line. The Sveshnikov, very different character than most of the Sicilians. So basically, by playing queen c7, you're avoiding these lines. Indeed, that is a really important point. And so queen c7 and knight c6 kind of go well together, because the queen also could potentially recapture on c6 in some variations. And when you play knight c6, you allow for these possibilities of taking on c6 and a quick e5. So it's all about that control of the e5 square. And not only that, but the queen on c7, like sometimes there are lines where you play knight takes d4, queen d4, and bishop c5, preferably with a king on g1.
Yep.
But
yeah, and sometimes
this is another
you do take with a queen as well. So yeah, I mean, basically the queen is very multi-purpose on c7. Of course, you always got to watch out for her getting attacked, but she tends to go back to b8. And white chose a very classical way of playing. I mean, I would say the more aggressive systems here, they're definitely starting with bishop e3, and then you're either playing f3 kind of queen d2 lines, or there's bishop e3, queen f3, or there's some f4 lines. Bishop e2 is basically, we're trying to get into a Scheveningen. You're basically saying I'm going to castle short, bishop e3, f4. But after a6, she decides not to castle. She goes in a more rare path where she makes this early capture. Now, these kinds of things have become more and more popular in the Sicilian, as people have just realized that these classical principles, like, don't help your opponent get a strong center, that they actually can be broken. And the strong center that Black gets with those three pawns, you can actually still fight for an advantage as white. And so she follows this idea up with this slightly unusual early queen development, with the idea of forcing a queen trade. And basically black can't really avoid it because either you have to settle for moving your own queen, losing a tempo, letting this queen sit on a great square. Unfortunately, there's no bishop d6 because it hangs the pawn. And that leaves this queen trade, which is definitely a concession of a kind, because it opens up the rook on the open file. Now, that's really the main problem. And it also turns the h pawn into a g pawn. And as you see, that pawn is about to become a star pawn because it just goes forward. And it's going to help white capture space on the king side. So we're going to go now. Yeah, now a very interesting move. This is where Anna introduced a novelty. This position has been seen before. And she went a4. Really interesting concept. Yeah, look at how that flank strategy is getting played out. So this is also a multi-purpose move. Part of the idea is definitely to fix the black pawn as a target on a6. Part of the idea is to, one day be able to bring out the rook from the side. Now, bishop e7 by Lei. I mean, she had many choices here. This was definitely a complicated position. And all along the way, we were always talking about, can black just capture that pawn? But we realized that white always has good compensation for it. Eventually, though, when her knight got attacked, she did take the pawn, and Anna simply developed, Lei castled, and bishop c4 and h6. So this is our current position, guys, after h6. And Lei is trying to get rid of that problematic pawn in h7. She's willing to just give up a pawn to do that. And I think it's not a bad idea, Jen. I mean, it certainly makes sense to me. Like if white captures and tries to win the pawn, I mean, well, this definitely looks pretty nice for black. Even rook h8 ideas coming to h1. Like, are you really going to put your bishop in f1 and claim that you're better? Like, I would feel pretty comfortable as black here. Let's see if the computer...
Maybe we can take a moment. Let's see. So, yeah, so there's also g6, of course, right? Instead of h6, as you mentioned.
Yep. I mean, it's interesting. Before we go to that, Jen, I mean, the computer still tends to favor white a little bit here. Just like the line that I was thinking about, he's not very concerned. Like, he's just like, okay, here you go. I'll step into a pin. It's just incredible to me, Jen, that like white's better here. It really is incredible. Like, I mean, it's such a simplified position. Black's, seems to have a normal bishop, like a normal rook. Why is it really worse for black? And yet the computer is claiming that white's better in this endgame. I mean, why is white better? Like, yeah, exactly. Like, I'm going to push my pawns. I just don't see it. Like, yeah, I don't really see the problem here.
Well, bishop, and if bishop c4, you just have rook takes d1 and king d7, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that would seem pretty sufficient. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's a good question, and maybe that could happen. Okay, but the other question is, if Anna wants to keep the game even more juicy, what about g6?
Right. So g6 is the other move, right? So I guess the issue with that, though, Jen, is that we have succeeded in neutralizing the pressure on the H file, which is really nice. And even if you take, right, we go here, and these pawns are not really weak. You haven't won this pawn yet either. So black is still up a pawn, and I feel like it's such a relief to finally be able to move this rook without losing the h7 pawn.
Well, Irina, it's been a pleasure being on the chess channel, as we are going to be handing that over for the Global Chess Championship. So I know a lot of you are very excited for that. Of course, we will also be continuing to cover this game on Chesscom Live. So certainly consider squad streaming it. And we're going to make that switch as seamlessly as we can. Thank you, everybody, for watching. All right, Irina, so not to interrupt you as she makes this critical choice over g takes h6 and g6.
All right, yeah. So h6, yeah, big moment for Anna. And it does seem like she is going to have to take the pawn. and head into this line. Yeah, you got to take with the rook, because taking with the bishop just sets you up to lose material.
Ooh,
so
nice.
rook h6.
Nice idea.
And I really think, Jen, that like I like what Lei did. I do. I mean, because no matter the computer's evaluation, I feel like from a human perspective, very understandable. And again, this move makes a lot of sense to me. So you're basically forcing the bishop back. You're forcing the other bishop back, and then you go c5. And then the question is, why am I worse?
Now, a question: you castled here. Is there any other opportunity here? I'm just trying to think, like, if I were to play king e2, now I could maybe foray with my rook with rook a3 to c3. But I also leave myself open to some tactics potentially. Like maybe you could play for a5, threatening bishop a6 check. So that's probably the reason it doesn't work, because a5. So if I could get a5 and king e2 in, it just seems very ambitious.
I agree. Like, but black has a lot of ideas too, like f5, then maybe bishop d6. Even I prepare f4. I mean, I like imagine, you go king e2. I go like, let's say f5. Oops, f5, and then you go rook a3. I guess you are in time, because bishop d6, rook c3, and I don't have time for f4 because there's bishop c5. I'm almost like winning I have f3, Jen, I don't know, right? It's a little bit crazy.
So there's still some tactics here. I mean, despite the late stage and the large number of trades, just that's the nature of the beast when you play the Sicilian. There's so many imbalances, and we're seeing them persist. By the way, we have a funny question from IT Solder, who says, if both players request it, they should set up the board on a standing desk so they don't have to sit for hours. That is a great idea.
Yeah, but they can also get up, guys. They're actually free to walk around, so they don't have to sit for hours.
What if you had like an adjustable chessboard, and whoever's move it was, they could decide like whether it was high or low? That could be really interesting.
Who's playing the other semis? Well, guys, there are no other semis yet. That's the next semis are going to happen like around a month from now, when the event starts in Uzbekistan, where we're going to have Alexandra Goryachkina play against Alexandra Kostenyuk, and Tan Zhangyi play against Katerina Lagno. And so we can, after they play one set of matches, we'll get to the semis there. Right now, there's only this one match.
That's right. And we see the brackets here as the winner of this will play the winner of that bracket, and the winner of that match will play Zhu Wenjun for the Women's World Championship. Yeah. Who do you feel like is the top woman player, besides Yuta Polgar, of course, who has never won the Women's World Championship? Who do you feel like is, really due, or you feel like they should get this title at some point in their career?
Wow. Well, I'll be honest. I don't know if there's someone who like absolutely should, like they're, like they've tried so long and they just haven't gotten it yet. I mean, I think Alexandra Goryachkina, first of all, she's a young player still. She's like extremely young. So even though she's like the highest rated, apart from Ho Yifan, it's not like she's been trying for years to get the title. She had one match, she was very close, but she lost to Ju. And I still think that would probably be the most interesting matchup.
To have a rematch.
Yeah.
To have a rematch rather, between Goryachkina and Zhu Wenjun. Okay. So somebody in the chat says the one Lord God said probably Humpy. And yeah, I think that's a great answer. Humpy Koneru has been rated over 2630. Like, she's a beast. She beat Yuta Polgar's record, and Ho Yifan subsequently beat that record. But unfortunately, she's no longer in the running, right? I mean, she won a beautiful game against Anna Muzychuk to get the very, very likely spot into this match. But Anna won her final game of that match and then went on to win the playoff, Irina. And that shot Humpy Koneru's dream. But Anna Muzychuk's
Anna Muzychuk is actually a good candidate, Anna as well. I mean, I feel like Anna Muzychuk, Katerina Lagno as well. Those ladies are definitely up on the list. But but first of all, they're not like, let's say, stronger than Geryachkina, who is still at the very beginning of her chess career, right? So I don't know if there. I feel like there's anyone who's due for a title. You know, Jen, like due for a title means like you've really been like, you know, the strongest for a long time, but somehow you haven't been able to do it, right?
Exactly, exactly. Somebody says Graxon Massacrute says chess queen, meaning Alexander Kostyanyuk. Chess Queens is the title of my book, but I think he meant to say Alex Kostyanyuk. But she has been the world champion before. In fact, that
Yeah.
was one of many reasons why she's been such an icon. She was the 10th female ever to earn the Grandmaster title. She's written multiple books. She's been a real mainstay in like pushing chess into the
Yeah.
mainstream media, well before, you know, it was the chess boom. So yeah, she's
Yeah.
a logical person to root for, but she has already held that beautiful crown.
Yeah, she won in 2008, and Alexandra has had a very successful chess career. BB Sara, future world champ. I agree that is a very promising young player. In fact, we can talk about, you know, players like BB Sara, like Jansai Abdumalik, um, from Kazakhstan, Vaishali from India, Shuvalova from Russia. I mean, there are a number of young female players coming up, and you know, probably even younger than that we haven't really heard about, Jen.
Yeah, that's right. You know, we gotta
I mean,
wait
it's time for
for.
me to have children, Jen. You know, um, I think you know, I would definitely teach my children chess and try to get them to be, you know, see if they have talent for it, and if they do, you know, make them be competitive from like an early age.
You mean particularly if you had girls or either?
You know, to be
Because you're
honest,
talking about the world
either.
championship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think either. But I mean, because I just think chess is beneficial for anyone from any perspective. Like, I think even just getting your kids to be like master level in chess is such a leg up in life, right? Like, you don't have to become a GM and study chess like for 10 hours every day. But if you do, you know, if you get to the master level, you've already gotten a lot of the benefits of playing chess. You've gotten those benefits of work and practice and logical thinking and you know, kind of thinking about opponents' ideas, prophylactic thinking, all kinds of benefits, right? So I feel like, you know, there's really no one who won't benefit from chess, girls or boys. But you know, yeah, I would teach, you know, my kids chess no matter the gender.
My son loves chess, Fabian, and it's so beautiful to see. He had a little bit of like a period where he wasn't really as into chess, and lately he's been so into it. And I have to say that he particularly loves Chess Kid lately. So, you know, some of my dear old friends like Mike Klein and, well, I should say Fun Master Mike and Jonathan Corbella and Danny Wrench. I'm literally like going to sleep and I'm hearing their voices in my ear talking about like the scholars made and fair play, and it's so cool to see like that kind of like a movement of the generations, right? I love it.
Yeah. So, how much practice does an average person need to be a master in chess? I would say, um, well, it takes years, right? And obviously, it's a lot better if you're starting as a kid. So, I think, you know, these days, the youngest kids become masters, you know, probably around age 8.
Oh my
Um,
god, it's amazing.
yeah, age 8, age 9 is still early. But let's say you're like on a slower path. So you can become a master at age, you know, anywhere from like 12 to like late blooming at 15, right? So I feel like as an adult, it's a totally different story. But like, let's say you're a kid who's just kind of like, you're serious about chess. It's not like, let's say, the only thing you do. But I mean, you could certainly become a master in your teen years if it's like one of your main activities. It probably has to be one of your top two activities that you focus on.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the kid. There's also a lot of mental game things that people can sometimes be led astray by, particularly girls, I think. because they're outnumbered and often given an inordinate amount of attention, sometimes attention that they do not welcome, sometimes harassment, or sometimes just like a lot of focus on their games when they're trying to blend in. So yeah, a lot of those can be impediments. But if you are able to kind of like continue to love the game and play it offers so many benefits, especially to girls. Absolutely.
Yeah. Any thoughts about becoming any chance of NM title post 30 if you're 18 to 2000? It's a very tricky question, Lo Presto, because most people post 30 are, busy working, busy with families, and they're not necessarily having time to play like tournaments multiple times a month, which they would need to do because, as you go higher in chess, it actually gets harder to improve. So you might think like, 1,000 to 1,200, much easier to do than, 1,800 to 2,000, a level, let's say you've been at 1,800 for like your whole life, right? For years. And then you suddenly want to move to 2,000. Well, you're really going to have to put in some substantial work, some substantial time playing, lessons with a coach, I think. And it's hard, most adults don't have that time for that kind of focus. So it's tricky. Do I think it's possible? Yeah, I do think it's possible, but it also depends a lot on your life circumstances.
Yeah, it's definitely possible though. I mean, it's all about what you want and how much you prioritize it, The problem is you got to realize there's no shortcuts. I mean, there could be some like shortcuts in terms of working efficiently, but you can't really just like have somebody give you a formula. And you got to put in some hard work. I mentioned him earlier, Ben Johnson. He has some really good podcasts with people who have done just what you're talking about. It's called now, whether it's Twitter or podcast world, it's called Adult Improvers. This is like a concept that's really taken off. And it's this idea that even later in life, your brain is capable of amazing things, I completely agree with it. I think we underutilize so much of our brains. So if you think that's important to you, you can do it. You can.
Yeah, I agree. Well, just theoretically, it's definitely possible. It's more like I've just seen that it's quite rare in actual experience, right? Like in my own experience observing, people's improvements, it's like once you get to a certain stage in life and it's no longer like the number one focus in your life, it gets a lot harder to bring up that rating.
Well, yeah, the other thing is remember that for high school students, for especially high school students, becoming good at chess is like really good for your college applications. It's potentially good for your job interviews. I talked to so many people that said they help them get a leg up, particularly if you're working in finance, but even law. Alyssa Melahina told me how many of her interviews at different law firms, like all they wanted to do was talk to her about chess. So I think in those ages of life, there's like a lot of practical value to getting better at chess. Whereas maybe people don't quite see it as much if you're already established in your career. So you really just have to want it for its own sake.
Oh, that's true.
Hey, that could be valuable as well. And it's also this like beautiful group of subcultures, this beautiful subculture. In fact, I got an award this year from the Chess Punks, which is this awesome chess community where it's all in adult improvers. And I think they're mostly on Twitter and Discord. So they kind of like create subgroups. So if you want like a sparring partner, you can find them. And it's like a very progressive community. They're very inclusive to, all types of people who might want to, get passionate about this game that might have not found it easy to find a community in the past. So those are some things you should look up. Some of the podcasts, some of the Twitter communities like Chess Punks that will help you get the motivation you need.
Yeah. Well, we got an audience member who became a master at the age of 20. That is a little bit on the later side, but still, actually, you're young enough at that time. You have like, I would say enjoy the advantage of youth because it definitely is easier to accomplish things in chess when you're younger. And when you're 20, you're still able to improve, I think, quite fast. You're not actually you haven't plateaued and you're out of that like little child's group, where you maybe can't absorb everything as quickly. So 20 is actually still a really good age for improvement if you can focus on it. And yeah, I can totally see, people reaching those levels easier at that age. But once you get to 30 and above, that's just a different stage in life. So more challenging.
More challenging, but you know what? If it's challenging, then it means even more when you do it. So don't let that get away from you. By the way, there's so many great things about chess, even if you don't improve. I feel like there's a lot of like great things about improving because you feel proud of yourself, but even maintaining a level and making new friends and getting joy are very important values in themselves. Like it's a real tough world out there these days. So many problems and so many things to think of, doom scrolling. And if you're able to like find joy and happiness through chess, then you're doing a good job. You're doing a really important thing for yourself.
Yeah. Chess is certainly one of the nice remaining areas in the world these days. You can take some comfort there.
Hot take: chess is more fun the worse you are at it. I see a lot of comparisons between studying music and improving at chess. A lot of the systems for improvements are the same. Does a photographic memory, being able to memorize 1,000 lines of theory, have any impact on chances? I'm actually doing a lot of research in memory because I'm writing a new book. And the thing about memory is that a photographic memory is not really that common. And what a lot of people with good memories have is kind of like creative techniques to remember things efficiently and also knowing the important things to remember. So yeah, a lot of people think they don't have a good memory, but if you train it, you can become much, much better than you expected. Mm-hmm. By the way, Irina, I'm looking at the live position here.
Yeah.
And like we've got this position after bishop h6. You were looking at rook h8. Are there other moves Black could be considering here? Like
she can consider some moves, but I really think she will ultimately settle on this one. It's just the most logical. I just don't see why you wouldn't want to activate your rook and kind of draw that bishop back to f1. Like you can attack this pawn, right? But I don't really see the benefit of going there because at some point I want to be able to play f5 and maybe get like a tempo on your bishop with f4. So why would I drag your pawn here? It doesn't seem like it really hurts white that much, but I guess we could consider it. Like we could go here and invite the pawn to go up and then go for the exact same line. But that's really my question is, why do we need to help that pawn be on g3? I just don't get it. Like, wouldn't we want to have better chances of advancing that pawn?
And it does look she's moved her rook, and I can't tell if it's g8 or h8, but I guess we'll find out the answer to that momentarily. It does look like it's rook h8. You were right, Irina. The most logical move by a lot. Somebody asked about, sorry if this was already covered, but as far as agents concerned, is it cognitive decay that makes it harder for adult improvers, say 40 plus? I mean, I really don't think so.
You don't think so, Jen? But
no, I mean, especially if you're just starting out, like there's just so much that you can do with your brain. It's kind of like if you started exercising seriously at age 40, like you can just improve so much. It's like, if you want to be an Olympic athlete and play for like the chess Olympics, that's going to be extremely difficult. But if you want to get like really good and you happen to have the time and commitment, in fact, I actually think my opinion is that the hardest is if you've been playing for a really long time and you haven't improved, because then you have such bad habits that basically have to be rewired, which then becomes like a psychologist mental health thing, which, is really hard. Just in anything. I see that in poker too. When somebody starts playing poker at age like 35 or whatever, and they have like a really, my friend of mine, Maria Konnikova, she's a wonderful best-selling author and a PhD psychologist. And she started playing poker in her early 30s and became a great player. On the other hand, if she had been playing for 15 years and had not been playing successfully, that would be way harder. You know what I mean? Starting from a blank slate is a bit easier in my opinion, because you don't have bad habits that you need to rewire.
I agree. By the way, Jen, we're going into that line. And now the move that I was thinking, so I was thinking c5. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's interchangeable with f5. You could really do either, but I think this is generally where black wants to have their pawns. So they want this bishop opened up. They want to start using their pawn majority. And potentially, to get their bishop to d6. I guess, Jen, we can try to play a few moves here. So let's say I go c5. What are we going to do? Are we going to try?
So c5
allows
yeah,
this
we were looking
one,
at rook
right?
a3 idea.
Yeah. Okay, maybe this is why this is better. Like, why should I allow rook a3? Let's just not do that.
And now we could play. We looked at a lot of moves here. So we were looking at castles. We were looking at a5. Obviously we can't play rook a3 anymore.
Yeah, castles. Let's take a look. Actually, no, I cannot play bishop d6. So I guess what do I do?
Actually, did you want to play c5 here?
Yeah, we looked at c5, right? I think this is where.
And then bishop c4. Yeah, but we thought this was okay for black, right? I mean, that's
yeah.
That should be a draw, right? Rook d1, king d1, bishop
maybe g3,
king d7.
How about that? Just improve the pawn a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to see what white wants.
And maybe we can also play like c3, king c2, improve the position of our king a little bit. And my thought is that bishop c4, oh, no, never mind. I was trying to imagine a scenario where I play bishop c4 and you play rook d1 and I can play the in-between move, bishop takes e6 check.
Yeah. I see. But I have rook d7, yes.
Exactly. But you play g3 anyway, so... but this double bishop endgame, I mean, that can't really be winning for white, can it?
No, I
guess you could try.
So. Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting right now. Like, I don't see an obvious move for black. Like, I think g3 is a pretty good try because I can't move my bishop. It's not obvious to me where I should move my king because there's always bishop f4 check. I can't go there and I can't go there. So what exactly am I supposed to do? Right? It's not obvious. Like, I can't move this bishop at all. I would like my bishop to be there and my king to be there, but I'm not getting that yet. So I need to be kind of smart about how I do things. I mean, is a5 a good idea? And maybe trying to put the bishop somewhere. I mean, it's a double-edged move, but let me try it, Jen. I know this move can backfire on me.
a5, yeah, it's a very risky move indeed. Okay, and you're trying to play.
I want to be able to move my bishop finally. Like, I probably just want to play. Well, actually, I still can't really play it, right? Like, I still can't move my bishop anywhere because of bishop a6.
And bishop d2, you just play bishop d8. Is that your?
Yep. Yeah, bishop d2. I wanted to go bishop d8. Yeah. I mean, you have to wonder what is the point of the move, though. If I can't move the bishop, why am I playing a5?
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like weakening that pawn.
Yeah, because I mean, I can't even move my king anywhere. Well, maybe I can.
Because my concern is now when I get into the double bishop endgame, I might have a little bit more of a leg to stand on if I'm saying that I'm better.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry, but we're experiencing some technical difficulties here in the studio. I hope you'll be patient with us as we get things in order before we return back to the broadcast. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties here in the studio. I hope you'll be patient with us as we get things in order for the broadcast to return. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties here in the broadcast. I hope you'll be patient with us as we work hard to get it back. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties here on the broadcast. I hope that we can get things in order soon. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry, but we're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we get things in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties here on the broadcast. I hope you'll be patient with us as we get things in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll stick with us and be patient as we work to return. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we get things in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we work hard to get things in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we work hard to get this back in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we work hard to get things in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we work to get things in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we work hard to get things in order. This video will now play on loop. How much longer does this have to go, guys? Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we get things in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we work hard to get things in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we work hard to get this in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some Oh, I'm messing with my mic here. I won't do that. I won't do that. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. That's not how my wife would. Wait, hold on. Wait, this is how I would do it. I was taught to do this the right way. My mom said if I did it this way and you fold it this way, no wrinkles. There you go. Back in that order. We'll get that. Okay. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we work hard to get things in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we work hard to get things in order. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. I think we're back now. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry, but we're experiencing some technical difficulties here in the studio. I hope you'll be patient with us as we get things in order before we return back to the broadcast. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties here in the studio. I hope you'll be patient with us as we get things in order for the broadcast to return. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties here in the broadcast. I hope you'll be patient with us as we work hard to get it back. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties here on the broadcast. I hope that we can get things in order soon. This video will now play on loop. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry, but we're experiencing some technical difficulties on the broadcast right now. I hope you'll be patient with us as we get things in order. This video will now play on loop.
Who advances to the finals, Anna Muzychuk versus Lei Ting-Chia. And we currently have a position that we've been looking at on the board, more or less. We dropped off, I think, right after Rook H1 check, Bishop F1. We've seen just a couple moves since then, Irina.
Oh yeah. So interestingly, Lei did not choose either c5 or f5. She actually went for bishop d6. And that makes sense to me, Jen. Actually makes a lot of sense. So let's see if our audience, how do we do a little training with the audience? Guys, what is the point of this move? Who can tell me? Yeah. What is the advantage of this move compared to c5 or f5?
All those adult improvers in the chat. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Who is both of your favorite players, male and female?
That's a great question.
For male, I definitely Magnus.
Yeah. Huh.
But from the older players, Jen, like from the other generation, I would say like Kramnik and Ivanchuk.
I think I love Capablanca. Love Capablanca. But Carlsen's also a great choice, of course. Done a lot for the game in addition to playing, just like Garry Kasparov.
Yeah.
As for female players, well, I wrote a whole book about my faves. It's hard not to point out Yuta Polgar. She's a hero. Yeah. She changed the game completely for everyone, as well as her older sister, Susan Polgar, kind of paving the way. But to me also, it's like people who've done a lot for the game that are so important.
Yeah.
And
in that respect, me, like other than Judith, it's hard for me to really point a female player, Jen, because I'm still playing like most of them, right? So I don't want to like anyone too much. Like they're all competitors. They're not like really here's my favorite, opponent to play. It's all the same when they're your opponents.
Yeah, well, historically there've been so many women who've done things for the game. Like Vera Menchik, died in a Nazi bomb in London, and then her contemporary Sonia Graf, who was like an anti-fascist and who luckily escaped murder by the Nazis, to be honest, because she was so vocal. She wasn't Jewish, but she was a very vocal anti-fascist, and she was in Buenos Aires playing the Olympiad at the time that World War II broke out.
Yeah.
That's right. That probably saved her. So I love both of those. Wow. Menchik was like the first woman to ever play in like the top men tournaments of her day, or top mixed tournaments. So many years before anyone would do the same. And then Graf was the second best woman player, but also this just incredible personality who was so brave and outspoken.
Yeah. And we also got the first woman to win was a court case against Netflix.
Ah, yes, Nona Gaprinishvili. Well, she was also the first female who got the Grandmaster title. So really an incredible legend. I mean, she's a great pick as well. Nona Gaprinishvili, the legend. Yes, Anita Drake said, what's the story? That is actually the second chapter of Chess Queens. It's all about Sonia Graf and the Vera Menchik. What does Sonia Graf, you and me, all have in common, Irina?
Oh, that's a good one. Sonia Graf, me and you. You know what? I'm guessing, Jen. I really wanted to ask you where she moved to, because if she didn't go back to Europe after World War II broke out, where did she eventually move to? I don't know. But I'm gonna guess, Jen, that what we all have in common is that we all lived in New York at some point.
No, but you're on the right wavelength. Does anybody know in the chat? You can give it away. You can give it away. That's right. Low Presto 57. We're all U.S. women's champions.
Yeah, that was my next guess. Yep.
We got that. She's got her name on that trophy. Yeah.
Oh wow! So she moved to the U.S. after that.
Yes, she married. Actually, it's a crazy coincidence because she married a Stevenson, which was the same name as Vera Menchik's ex-husband. So, or first husband. And so it's just a crazy coincidence. And she ended up moving to Los Angeles, California. And I think you're right, though. She spent some time in New York as well. Because I saw a New Yorker article where she was talking. Actually, it really haunted her that she never won the World Women's Championship, because she was relatively close one time. And her game against Vera Menchik, she blundered terribly, a winning position. And like, many, many years later, she was in New York just.
Yeah, so interestingly, guys, we lost Jen for a second. She's going to be back. I'm going to update you a little bit on what's going on the board because it is kind of exciting. After bishop d6, castles attacking the bishop. Instead of, let's say, playing a move like king c7, which I was thinking about, which is actually, well, it seems possible, but or maybe even pulling the bishop to e5, which is also quite logical, although there might be checkmate threats. Lei chose a very stylish move c5, simply leaving the bishop under attack. Remember, guys, there is an attack on the f1 bishop. Hey, Jen.
By the way, Irina, did the chat ever successfully answer your question?
No, but I don't even know if I would successfully answer my question. I was thinking the idea of this is just kind of guard this diagonal and go king c7, but she actually went c5. I mean, she might still go king c7. It's still a very possible move down the line, but for now, she just chooses to leave her bishop unprotected, Jen. And let's take a look if white takes it. We get bishops of opposite color. This pawn is hanging. How do we save that pawn, or do we just, I don't know. If we push, I'm a little scared about getting mated.
Yeah, I'm a little scared here too.
But okay, maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe you go there and they check you. You move up. It's a little strange, I would say, that she's allowing this. Like, because what's the other plan other than c4? Maybe there's something that we're missing, Jen.
Yeah, after, right here, maybe. Okay. Our pawns and take.
I mean, I suppose this one, yeah, you know what it could be? I don't know, maybe something like this. Attacking that, and if they go b3, maybe then c4.
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. And what about just... So here you're getting rid of the pawn in a way where you're not going to be left with a weakness at the end, sure. And you're kind of thinking that anytime bishop b6, you could just play bishop d5. Okay.
Yeah, that seems to be my main idea for getting out of that mate. Still, I feel okay. Like there's still a little bit of pressure on Black's position. Let's see if, well, okay. Let's see if she's going to wind up taking.
Oh, we got a comment from GM Nixon who says that, and he did commentary for this match yesterday, or 2 days ago rather, because yesterday was a free day. He pointed out that king c7, bishop c5, rook takes f2.
Wait, rook takes f1. Wait.
I see. He's saying that like there's you can take on f2. Position. Yeah.
So basically, the idea is, but right now it's white's turn, right? So I wonder, when does he mean king c7? He just means like in general, like king c7, like when that happens.
I think we were looking at one line where it was like rook takes f1 check, right? Were we looking at this line, king d2, and after we can play king c7, and you can't play bishop c5 because of king c7 here. Yeah.
That's what he means. Okay, that's a very good point. Yeah, because the rook is trapped.
Because you have to play bishop c5 then.
Yeah, now, unfortunately, you don't have any of these other squares. So you got to go here. Now it's just a draw.
Now it's a draw. Bishop takes f2. We're forced to play bishop takes f2. We don't want to lose our g2 pawn, of course. And then after king takes d6, it's bishops of opposite color with equal pawns and should be a draw.
Yeah, it does look, Jen, like we are headed towards a relatively quick draw today. Like I feel like we got an interesting opening, but unfortunately the transition to the end game so quickly, even though Anna definitely is, trying, bringing new ideas to the game, but still, it's an end game, right? It's not as exciting as a middle game. And I think Lei is just playing overall really well. What I like the most out of her play, I did like this move h6. That felt like a very good idea to just give up that pawn just to get these rooks off the board. Like that felt so correct to me, like a really good equalizing strategy. And yeah, I mean, bishop d6 and c5 also making a lot of sense. So she's either going to get to play king c7 to just protect the bishop next, or we're going to see the line that Artur is mentioning to us with rook d6, rook f1, king there, and that tricky king c7 just kicking out that rook or forcing bishop c5. Yeah, so I feel like Lei is going to get the draw that she's after in this game, Jen. Oh, okay. Yeah, so Jen has taken a little hiatus, guys. What were we talking about? She was telling us this interesting story about Sonia Graf. Yeah, we'll ask her to continue that when she gets back. And by the way, someone mentioned that like I could have said Hao Yufan as one of my favorite players. Given that I according to them, I'm not likely to play her. I'm not so sure that I'm not going to play any more games against Hao Yufan in the future. Definitely not as likely because she's not playing as much. Also, I guess I'm not playing as much, but I still feel like it's quite possible we're still both pretty young and that we're going to face each other at some point down the line, some tournament. But yeah, no, Hao Yufan, she's a great player. I really enjoyed watching her play the Speed Chess Championships. She did ultimately wind up losing to Katerina Logno, but there were definitely flashes in those matches where you could see just how strong of a player she is, how diverse in her opening repertoire. And I liked watching her play those Benonis for Black, the Sicilians for Black. So yeah, she's undoubtedly, a really great player. It's a bit of a shame, that we don't get to see her play as much as she switched over to her job as a professor in China. And obviously right now in China, I think it's just kind of hard to leave the country, to put it mildly. So, the Chinese players in general, we don't see them as much. And now, do we have Jen back with us?
Yes, hello.
Hey, Jen.
Hi, guys. Sorry about that. So did we get any more moves after bishop d6, rook d1?
Nope. White is still thinking about what to do after c5. So Jen, you were telling us that story about Sonia Graf and how she really regretted not winning the Women's World Championship, like how she was so close. She lost a match to Vera Menchik.
Yeah, she lost a game. This one was played as like a Swiss, or no, rather like a round robin, I believe. So yeah, because there weren't that many players. So she lost their head-to-head battle. So they both won against most of the other players in the field, but because she lost that head-to-head battle, she didn't get a chance to win the championship. So yeah, it's just interesting how sometimes the people that we remember can kind of hinge on a single move, right?
Yeah. I guess I need to create more memories, Jen, so my career doesn't hinge on a single move or a single game, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you've already won 8 championships, so it's certainly not some kind of Achilles heel that you're going to have to regret. But people in the chat do ask about your World Women's Championship ambitions.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I mean, right now, I don't know. My ambitions are probably a little bit more modest. To play better than I did at this year's U.S. Women's, and I am actually making some progress on that. In terms of like putting in some work every single day on my game. It's not so easy with my schedule, but it's definitely something I'm happy to be doing. Because I still want to play chess at a good level. And we'll see, where that gets me. I mean, my next big tournament might be the Cairns Cup, where I'm going to be playing against the top female players in the world. So we'll see how I do there. Now, Arturis gives us an interesting line that I think we need to talk about. He says the engine's choice of g4, g5 is not obvious. Black could target with moves of bishop e7, rook g1. Even if Anna sees the idea, difficult to evaluate. So Arturis, when are you talking about that?
Right here.
G4 right now. Wow.
Yeah, G4 for some reason, and somebody else in the chat mentioned that the engine is a big fan of playing G4, but it looks really, it looks like an engine move.
Wow.
Because as he points out, rook G1 looks quite seductive. Okay, well, let's keep our eye on that. Will she play G4? Probably not, but you never know. We're going to be right back with more coverage after a quick break.
You know, historically in Third Ward, you would have more formal places for folks to get together, corner stores, cafes, but you know, through the history of the neighborhood, you had a lot of disinvestment over the years. I mean, starting from the 1930s, you had redlining, and so the area where the Chess Park Inn was a formerly redlined part of Houston, and when they came and built highways in the 1950s, they tore through sections of Third Ward, separating it from the rest of the city, and that just left huge swaths of the neighborhood empty and vacant. We are going to transform this park into an area where people can come, enjoy themselves, feel safe, and play chess and checkers. We're just kind of doing things piece by piece, incrementally, so kind of a tactical urbanism approach. We're not waiting on the city to do any grand project. We're just doing what we can do step by step as private citizens and working together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our coverage of the 2022 FIDE Women's Candidates, as we have Anna Muzychuk and Lei Tingche battling for this coveted spot to play for Wenjun for the Women's World Championship. I'm Jennifer Shahani. I'm here with Irina Krausch as we enter this the end game where we got a rook and a bishop versus a rook and a bishop. Some nice activity for white, but the problem is that king c7 can here be played, and now bishop takes c5, rook takes f2 really does save the day. So are we headed towards a draw line, Mina?
I feel like we are, Jen. I feel like she should be able to find this. It's a fairly simple tactic, although I didn't notice it myself when I first saw this position. I was thinking about other ways to defend this pawn that were less optimal, like moving it forward. This is really just a great move. And I think, with the full concentration that you have at the board, it's also very doable because, you are attacking the rook. The rook is trapped. There's no bishop f4. There's one move. And then you take this pawn. You're about to collect more pawns. So what can white do other than take you back? And then we have bishops of opposite color and just, well, it is unbalanced, but I suppose neither side really should have the edge here. If black could get that pawn there, it could get a little dangerous, but let's see. Well, actually, let's try, right? If it's not even black's turn. So, okay. In that case, Jen, anything could work. I think even g4 should be a move here with ideas of just bishop g3. And the point is that if you go f5, I'm just going to throw in the check, and I will take, and your pawns are completely blockaded, so they're not going anywhere, so no issues for white. So I feel like, unfortunately, we are headed in this direction. Now, before we look more at this position, let's take a look at the move that she was supposed to play. Artur's mentions that the computer move here is g4. Now, that move, I think, is aimed to make f5 more difficult because you might have g5 ideas. Although, let's see. If you go f5, let's see what happens. Is it also that the bishop is just going to hang at some point?
Yeah, I think that now we can take it, and we're threatening the e6 pawn and the pawn on c5, kind of adding to black's issues here, right? So you can't just play king c7 here. We play rook e6, and that looks pretty good.
Yeah, like that. It just takes, and okay, white is up a pawn with pretty good chances to win. And now, what is a more useful move that we can do? So g4, yeah, g4 has some power. I can see that, but let's say king c7. So I protect my bishop. What's the big deal? We could get the pawn there. I could see how that might be, useful to just fix black's doubled pawns and the other pawn on that side of the board. And then basically the idea is to go into a bishop endgame. Yeah, it's very far from obvious. For example, it's very far from obvious, why white is much better here. But okay, we can try to figure that out. There is this sort of pressure. The pawns are immovable. You can't do anything with them. And at some point, Jen, we could try to create a passed pawn on the queen side. There is that.
So this is all if they play g4. Yeah, just so tricky to come up with that move for sure. Although, it is true that the kind of the theme of this game in many ways is what's better than the G pawn in the white side of the Sicilian.
Yeah.
2 G pawns.
Yeah, it is a very instructive move, guys, because it's a prophylactic move. It's a move that aims to paralyze the black pawns and to claim a little bit of an advantage based on the pawn structure. So I do get the point of that, which is, why this move bishop d6, even though I liked it and it's working out perfectly well for Lei, but there definitely was an option to just start the game with this move and not allow a g4 at all. So bishop d6 may be a little bit of an inaccuracy, but it's not something that Lei is going to get punished for. So
Yeah.
let's see. King c7 on the board.
Well done, as Lei Ting-che continues to show her strong form, as the one Lord God had said that she seems like the most unbeatable in this event. Anita Drink concurs. True. Rock solid. I know we also have a lot of Muzychuk fans in the chat.
Yeah.
So identify yourselves. But in this game, I don't know if either fans are going to be that excited or disappointed, because we are continuing to heighten the tension of the match if this is a draw as we expect it might be. That means tomorrow, Irina, we would come back at exactly the same time, but it would flip in that Lei Ting-che would get the white pieces.
Yeah. I think Lei has been in very good form in this match overall. I mean, she did have a shaky moment against Maria Muzychuk in the third game. So I wouldn't say, no one's been flawless. Everyone's had a shaky moment. But overall, I do think the level of her play has been high. I mean, both players, you can imagine the work that they're doing and their preparation, right? Like she's switching from the Petrov to the Sicilian, and Anna is also switching lines from some sideline to the main line today, coming up with new ideas. There's so much work involved. I agree with the players getting a rest day after 2 games of play. Like, given how high stakes this is and how much preparation they got to do, if we want them to come with new ideas, then it makes sense to give them a rest day after just 2 days of play.
By the way, somebody earlier had asked about who was higher rated, and it's interesting because they're actually currently 6 and 7 on the live women's rating list, and it's Lei Ting-che who has 2539 and Muzychuk with 2527. So just neck and neck, really.
Yeah, not a lot separating these players. I mean, you can feel that. That's why it's a very close match. Lots of preparation done by them both. Yeah.
And a close tournament. I mean, honestly, from Goryachkina at 2584 all the way down to, I think it's actually Kostyanyuk, who's the lower rated one, but she's 2521. So like you're talking about like a 50, 60 point spread here, which is so nothing. Small for a tournament of this caliber. And that actually makes it really competitive. I mean, that's one really cool thing about this event, that you just don't know who's going to win. And there's not even a clear favorite. I mean, you did single out Goryachkina, but other than that.
Not by a lot. I mean, for example, Alexandra Kostyanyuk actually beat her in the World Cup finals. I believe it was in 2021 to win the World Cup. So she's not infallible either. And I don't think like at 2584, you have like such a significant edge over the field, like especially if you're playing people who are also in good shape. I think it's going to be very close. Like, I don't think it's a given that even Goryachkina will get past Kostyanyuk. I mean, okay, I guess you can say she's the favorite by rating, but I just don't think it's a given. Alexandra has a lot of experience. She's like a really good fighter. She's very passionate about chess. So I think that's going to be actually a great match of the 2 Alexandras.
Now, here's a question for you, though. Who is actually on their peak rating among the ladies here?
Probably, I mean, maybe Lei. I mean, out of these ladies, I do think, like, if you're saying she's 2539, that must be a peak for her.
It is. That is a peak for her, or close to it, 2545. So just a few points off of it. But also, Lano's actually about at her highest rating ever. So
is she really? What's her rating? Is it 2570?
2563 exactly. So
right. Well, she's been at that range for like a long time. It is like a peak, but I almost feel like she's probably been like 2570 at some point, right? Like, where is it?
Right around. No, I think right around here is where she's been. But yeah,
wow.
But we just we're seeing these women just continue to create new heights in their career, and it's pretty nice to see. Nice to see. Who do you guys think is going to win? Goryachkina Alexander is 39 points by itself. That's a lot. Okay, so 40 points. You think that's a lot? That could be true.
Maybe he's
Kostyanyuk is very unpredictable. Unpredictable can be good though, because at the end of the day, you want to win more titles. So hey, wouldn't you rather
yeah.
have one amazing result and one like whatever? Like that's generally gonna be more profitable when it comes to titles, even if it doesn't always reflect itself in the ratings.
Okay.
White's G and Nixon still think the Whites has some ideas by playing like, with the better pawn structure, playing king to a5. Okay, putting the king into a5 and pushing for b5.
Yeah, so b3 and c4, huh? And you're saying, okay, so Lei is playing king e5. Now, how should we understand that move? Is it this the idea, Jen? Is the idea to bring the king to try to go to f3? That could be it. Also, I mean, okay, what I'm curious about, okay, I think I've understood something, Jen. Now, if white does not use the king, you actually cannot advance these pawns, because what's going to happen is, like, let's say my king gets there and you try to keep him out, right? I'm going to put my bishop on c6. In fact, I'll probably be doing that move very shortly. When I do that, you're going to have two choices. You're going to either push or defend, right? So let's say you defend, but then the problem is you can't really make any progress with your pawns at all. Like, you can push the pawn there, it's just not going anywhere. It's blocked. And if you push, and even if you get b4 and c4, you still will never be able to play b5 unless you get the support of your king, which is probably not going to be forthcoming. So I like king e5. It is an active idea, guys, of really trying to keep white's king tied down. And it seems like it's holding the balance. Yeah, so it's an active idea as opposed, to something more passive where black tries to hold the queen side. So now what do we do about that? I mean, obviously you can't play g4 to let the king in. Yeah, I mean, the basic idea is just hold the king here, like, and stop the idea that Artur is telling us about. So right now, king f5.
Bishop e6 just played. By the way, we should point out that the players are not allowed to offer draws before move 40, but there is, of course, the possibility of repetition.
Yeah, I would also see, like black, throwing in a move like that. Like, and then continuing onwards with the king. And so some position like this. Let's say bishop c7. Okay. I mean, I just stay, right? I stay. Oh, computer doesn't like that staying, but I don't really see why. Why is like f5 so bad?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. So it looks like we're a little frozen here as white. Like, what can we do here? We can't. If we move our king forward, you get to start playing e3.
Yeah, I don't know why the computer doesn't like that move compared to others. I just kind of stay on this diagonal, bishop d7, bishop e8. I still don't really see white winning this game. So bishop b6, well, okay, king f5. It's quite normal.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Even if black were to make a small mistake, it wouldn't really matter. There would still be a way to draw it, in my opinion. Linux Archer says he or she is paying so much attention to this match that I just hold out my hand and my cat pets herself. I love my self-petting cat. Yes, cats are great because they can clean themselves and entertain themselves in so many instances. I love cats.
Yeah. And Jen, now is your cat an outdoor cat or an indoor cat?
Mostly indoor, but sometimes she makes a run for it. Like, Little Lady is her name, and she sometimes will, like, when we open the door, she'll like make a run for it, but she'll always come back like right away. She just kind of like she just goes to the alleyway to see if there are any other cats there, and then she just comes back. So it's okay.
Oh, interesting.
How about yours?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's in indoor outdoor. He definitely enjoys the outdoors.
I see. You let him out, and he just always comes back.
Oh yeah, he does. It's like it's magic, Jen. How you think they're just gonna escape from you, but they always come back home. And he knows who's going to feed him. He knows where the good life is. And my parents, they have a great backyard, and he can just walk around all the backyards there. And it's just it's a great life for him.
Oh, he sometimes goes all the way to your parents' backyard.
Oh no, he lives with my parents, and my cat is really the cat that lives at my parents' house.
Oh, you mean you don't have a cat that lives with you? Okay.
No,
I
I
see.
don't. We have a family cat. I do consider him mine, but
I see.
I'm mostly the babysitter. I'm like the Aunt Irina who takes him when
okay. So you need your own cat then.
Yeah, well, I live in a very small apartment, so I also have allergies to cats, so it might be a little difficult for me at the moment. I think I need a bigger space like my parents have.
I see. Okay. Yes. Well, we're getting some great cat stories in the chat here. Cat chat.
Yeah.
My cat is indoor, but she loves a balcony. Any chess cat stories? Let us know.
Oh yeah, well I have a picture of my cat Leopold like watching my games at the US Championship. Like he's laying in front of the computer where my games are up, and my mom said that he was suggesting some better moves to what I was playing.
I love that. Yeah, cats are pretty smart for sure. There's a good movie about it on Netflix, Inside the Cat's Brain. And in fact, Ukrainians are big fans of cats. And I think there were two Ukrainian women in that movie who were very well known as like able to get cats to do all these like exciting tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Your profile pic is a cat ducking over pieces. Anita Drink says she has allergies too, but I suffer through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not. There are different levels of allergies. Some people are like so allergic they can never do it. But yeah, I have heard of people who have minor allergies, but once they get a cat, it kind of all goes out the window, and they sometimes even improve.
Yeah. No, I think my allergies are fairly minor, and especially if like there's a lot of space in the house and the cat is not always there. But I have noticed that like when I was cat sitting in my small apartment and I would have the cat here with me all the time without letting him go outside, I would sneeze like all the time. I would sneeze like 10 times in a row, things that like never happen when I don't have a cat around, Jen.
Yeah. By the way, for anybody who's newer to the game, should we explain why bishops of opposite color are so notoriously drawish? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's because there's some squares that white controls and some squares that black controls. And therefore, it's really, really hard to create dynamism at a certain point. Like if you try to make a queen with one of your pawns, there's going to be like a bishop on b7 that just stops it. And it's just difficult to do anything about it, right? I mean, especially with even pawns. I mean, the most you can do is like potentially bring your king over to support the pawn, but then you're of course abandoning other squares and other pawns. So it's very rare for these positions to be as juicy as you might expect if you hadn't ever really studied the endgame. Right? You might look at this and you say like, look at all the imbalances, right? The pawn on g3 is weak, right? There's 3 on that side.
Yeah.
This should be an obvious draw, but I find it tricky.
Instead
of black's king to e5 to f5 plan, just push e5 f4 and trade off white's g pawn, and give up the central pawn, and then just put your king on b7. I see.
That's one plan as well. Yeah, that's interesting. Arturs, you're definitely looking deeper into the position. So what Arturs is suggesting is a way to trade off this pawn. Well, how do we trade it off exactly? So he's saying push e5, f5, but how do we do that? I mean, because like if you go e5 and I go bishop c7, how do you want me to get my king out of the way to push this pawn? Oh, I guess he's saying like this. This is what he's saying. Yeah. So he means essentially something like this, where you can even just give up this pawn. Well, let's not give it up yet. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, I wouldn't give up the pawn until I really have to. Like, at this point, actually, I mean, this is just a draw, right? Oh, or he's saying now the king can try to come back, probably. And he's suggesting this idea where you just like give up this pawn and you go king d7 and you go like king b7 and then you just kind of sit on this position. In fact, you can even give up another pawn just to make it more instructive. Right. Yeah, we do know this is a draw, guys. It goes like this. And ultimately, yeah, we want to capture with the A pawn. Ultimately, this is the drawing setup, sure. And the idea is when they push, they can't push there. We just stay on those two squares. The diagonal is long enough. They can't push because you sack your bishop. And then they don't have a chance to bring over their king to d6 because b5 is under attack. So this is like a very famous drawing position, guys, where you might think the bishop would be better somewhere else, but the reason this is the best square is because once this move happens, right, you see how the bishop doesn't let the white king go anywhere. He just keeps targeting that pawn, so the white king doesn't have a chance to do that maneuver to get that pawn to c6. So this is just a dead draw, despite the computer saying it's better. So yeah, this is totally viable plan for black. It just requires knowing this position, and I think she can always think of that if she needs to, right? So let's see what the current position is. So it's king e3. So e5, yeah. e5, that requires her kind of it requires her changing her plans a little bit, right? Artur's, because she already played, she could have played this stuff before, so she didn't want to, so now she went this way. It's fine. She can still change her mind and go back, towards that side for sure. But okay, let's see.
I mean, she can also kind of like just try to play like e5 and f6, and then like the g3 pawn could become a little weak. Maybe in case you don't feel like going into that position, like unless you have to. That is. By the way, he gives a shout out to Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual, which is a book for life, certainly, because you can read parts of it when you're an amateur player, but obviously even grandmasters are reviewing it to strengthen their endgame building blocks.
Yeah, look at that. She just played e5. I mean, she might, in fact, be thinking about the idea that Artur's pointed out. In fact, I would assume she is, because after bishop c7, well, let's see, Jen. I mean, the only other idea, if we don't want to go here, is like what you said, f6.
Yeah,
right?
like just play f6 and like try to, yeah.
And after bishop d8, so now, well, there's no real point to give up the pawn like that.
Because I'm giving up so many of them, right?
Yeah, and also, I guess if you go there, maybe I play g4.
Although I guess at some point you could play g4, right? And like kind of compel me.
Yeah, to play like f5. I could go into this position. I mean, we could make it a little sharp. You probably can't play g5, like letting me advance at the moment. Let's try that, though. If I get a pass pawn there, okay. So black actually wins, because they're going to be pretty quick in advancing their pawns, I guess. Or maybe even a little maneuver of the bishop here, actually. I like that. So white can't really go overboard with this. b3, e5 is on the board, and what are we expecting, Jen? I mean, I would expect something like bishop c7. So bishop c7, f6, bishop d8. Kind of tying me down.
Yeah. Oh, you mean tying black down? Yeah, but you play king d6, g4, f5, king g5 or king g6, like kind of similar, just like holding down the fort.
Yeah, you can do this as well. You can go for this. But basically, so like that. like that. The thing is, like, this maneuver, by the way, also takes forever to get the king there. It's not like such a fast thing.
Exactly, exactly. So why not, like, no.
I mean, like, if you go there and I'm just staying in this position, are you really able to do that? And like, if I stay, at some point, can I get you back? Well, yeah, at some point I can just give up these pawns again. I could get your king back and I have time to move in. But let's say I don't. I want to keep going with this position. I want to see, where are you going? Now I'm going to go e3, right? So I don't know. If you go bishop b6, I have f4. If you go king a5, I have e3. So, you also have to worry about that pawn moving. And
By the way, we had bishop c7, f6 on the board. So the
bishop
solid
c7, f6.
So solid structure here, trying to wait and see whether white wants to play for that plan of shifting the king over.
Yeah, I just want to take a look at this position, Jen, for a second, because
Oh, this is kind of fun. Now, I mean, gosh. So you have bishop a5 if I have e2, but you still have some worries here. Like,
yeah,
okay,
like,
so
I don't understand. The computer
F4?
is giving some crazy move like that. Like, what in the world is that? Is that a joke? Like, bishop a8 doesn't look like it should be a winning
Well,
move.
what about just f4? Like, what happens if f4?
F4, I just take it?
Oh yeah, you just take, sorry. I meant
E2.
E2. I'm sorry. I meant E2 and then F4. So, but whatever.
Yeah, I guess I block your pawns though, Jen, right? Like, I take, and I'm going to block them. And it's still not obvious what's going on because white's got 3, but black's pawns are further advanced. You can't even, well, yeah, I mean, you can play that. So I don't think we're going to see this line because this is way too crazy for both players, and I just don't see them playing.
It's a lot to calculate for both players for sure.
Yeah, like, why would you do this? Like, this is actually like an example of a crazy line.
To give the audience some fun.
Yeah, no, it's not happening. This is just our here we go. We found a draw, guys. There we go. And you get the last pawn off the board.
Fun times. Can't decide which event to watch. Why not both? Watch both Chess.com events at the same time during squad streaming. Nice little link there. Low Presto 57. Are there any plans for a Chess Queens paperback? Yes, there are. There should be a paperback edition that's coming out in 2023. Also, depending on where you are from in the world, sometimes you already have the paperback. It's called a trade paperback. So I know that Indians and Australians, that's like what they get when they order it online.
Ah, okay. Are you working on any new books, Jen?
Yes, I am. I'm working on a new book. Yes,
wow.
I am.
Tell us what it's about.
It's called Thinking Sideways. So it's kind of about chess and using chess thinking in your life. And it's also about like kind of thinking about chess success a little bit more laterally as well. So that the people who are enjoying their lives through chess and making other people's lives better through chess are also celebrated.
Oh, wow. That must be like the streamers, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. The streamers, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that a lot of the origin of the title, Thinking Sideways, came from the fact that chess players are constantly asked how many moves they think ahead, whereas great chess players are really good at thinking at all their options and thinking about the best options quickly. In fact,
that's in remember we talked about this book, The Secret Ingredient to Winning at Chess. And in the very first pages, they actually talk about calculation and that whole idea that people are, grandmasters are asked, like, how far ahead do you calculate? But really, it's not the length of calculation. It's the width of calculation that is important in chess. Where you basically, the most common mistakes in calculation are not made on like move 10. They're made in the first several moves of a line that you're looking at because you're not looking at enough options for your opponent.
Yes. And actually, who said something similar in an interview, actually, was Anna Muzychuk. She herself mentioned that it's the short variations that it's very easy to miss great candidates, and that's what she finds to be the key ingredient for her calculations. Magnus Carlsen said
Yep.
something similar on the Lex Friedman show, where he talked about
Yeah.
how he's very good at looking at short variations. And yeah, and he actually doesn't like puzzles and problems. Well, I don't know if he said he doesn't like, but he said it's like when he sees like one
But
of
he's
these
not.
problems.
Yeah, that he's not. He said he's not as good at solving them. When he's given it as a study, although he's generally quite capable of finding similar things when they occur to him over the board. Yeah, that's what he said.
Because there's a lot at stake, so it's like worth the effort. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's still pretty good at it, but he of course he means relatively.
Yeah. All right. So thinking sideways, how long have you been working on that for?
Off and on, for the last year. Of course, when Chess Queens came out, and I played a lot of poker this summer as well. So that was definitely maybe brought some material into the book. Actually, I mean, I think the same principles are true in poker as well. That a lot of it is making sure that you're flexible and adroit and looking at all your options rather than getting into tunnel vision. Very key. The point of the book will be that it's like for people outside the chess world as well.
Yeah.
So it's not going to have like chess games in it. There might be an appendix, which is actually what I did with Chess Queens. There's an appendix of games that are actually found on chess.com where you can look over the games that were played in the book, but it's still readable to everyone.
That sounds good. What do you think about Fischer Random chess, Jen? We just had a Fischer Random World Championship that was pretty exciting to watch. What was your feeling about it? Should we have more Fischer Random events?
Oh yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, I think it's starting to gain in popularity among like the champions have always loved Fischer Random.
Yeah.
But I think the sticking point was that it didn't seem to be as popular for the viewers, but until recently. It seems like people are really starting to enjoy watching it. And so, yeah, I think it's a beautiful game and that we should see more of it. In fact,
I agree.
I mentioned in the stream very briefly that I did with you on Hikaru's channel that I think I've never really liked Bughouse that much because in Bughouse, I always just get mated on F7 where I try to mate someone on F7 and it turns out it doesn't work. I just feel like it's too focused on that one point. Like Bughouse is like an obsession with F7, right? Because it's so weak. So I was actually playing Bughouse with some friends, and we started to play Fischer Random Bughouse, and it's a way better game. It's like way better. I literally think it's like twice as good as regular Bughouse. So that was kind of eye-opening for me. Yeah, because every position is a different weak point. It's just so much better.
That's true. That's right. It makes it so much more complex. Yeah, I think we need a Fischer Random U.S. Championship, Jen, and a National Rapid and Blitz Championship. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think those are all great ideas. We do actually have Rapid and Blitz Championships, but they're not like at the prestige of like the World Rapid and World Blitz Championships for sure.
Right. I mean, do we even have them? Like, where are they?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, they're just not like with like huge prize funds.
But I mean, that just means like the best players are not playing in them, right? Like we don't have
exactly
Hikaru Nakamura or like Wesley So playing in the U.S. National Championship for Blitz. Like, I mean, I think there is something like at the National Open, right? Like some sort of things like that. But I mean, in terms of like a prestigious tournament that is at the, at a national championship level, I really think that would be cool. Like those three events would really round out like the national championship schedule. How much does it cost to host a national championship? Well, it's quite a lot of money if you want to do it at the level of the St. Louis Chess Club.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, the production value, the live streams themselves are very expensive because you need this wonderful team that creates the angles, the studio. By the way, thanks to our team today. Shout out to Bigfoot and of course all the moderators who are keeping the chat clean. Love it. So yeah, it does take a lot of resources to do it well, which is exciting because it seems like more people are up to the task these days as we see great tournaments flourish all over the world. And I just think we're going to see even more creativity and inclusion as the chess boom continues.
Yeah, I would love to play Fisher Random Tournament, actually. Commentating on the World Championships in Iceland, it was just fascinating. It was like, wow, chess is so rich, so complicated. You don't know what's going on. It would be fun to try your hands at that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It would really be fun. Yeah. Seth Lichtenstein says that my book is great and it has lots of awesome stories and interviews. I read it and gave a copy to one of my students who also liked it. Thank you, Seth. I appreciate your support. Seth also says that he has not played enough Bughouse to be bored with attacking F7. Honestly, Seth, it might be that I was just getting checkmate on F7 too much. But
Yeah.
I'm objective enough to know that it really was a better game. I swear.
Yeah, so we got 8 more moves to go until the time control gen. I wonder how hard she's going to try to win as white. I mean, we're gonna see like that pawn push to c4 or what? I mean, because this is really quite a drawn position. If you guys consider that basically black can give up those 3 pawns for that 1 pawn, and just as long as they get their king to b7, they make a draw. Um, that is that
That's a
just shows,
sign.
yeah, that shows you how many resources black has in this position, like how close we are to a draw here, really.
Irina, I mean, this would
Yeah.
mean if this game is drawn, it would be 3 draws, giving Lei Ting-Che the white pieces tomorrow. Last white, we
Yeah.
saw the Grunfeld defense.
I think it means that we would have very good chances to see a tiebreak on Sunday, Jen. And tiebreak days are really exciting. They're just a lot of fun to watch. Yes, very difficult for the players. And, it's always a shame when 2 worthy competitors are then decided by, a blitz game or rapid game. But, there has to be some way to break the tie and have someone move on. So it's always exciting to watch. And I think we had a great 4-game match between Humpy and Anna last week that only resulted in Anna winning that final game where Humpy finally just cracked under the pressure and made a huge blunder. And I just think Muzychuk and Lei are going to have probably an even more exciting match.
By the way, Pumpkin the Cat asks, what are the chances that the Queen survive past move 10 tomorrow? Like, listen, I think that, no joke, Lei Ting-Che will try to end the match tomorrow with the white pieces. If Anna Muzychuk tries the Grunfeld, there are many, many aggressive lines against the Grunfeld that she may choose to try to get a point and avoid the playoff. So it's definitely not a draw. We're just saying that, of course, it's possible because Anna Muzychuk is a great player and very well prepared. But, anything can happen tomorrow. It doesn't mean you shouldn't tune in and see if somebody can just decide the match right there and then.
Yeah, so F Double Bloom is asking, have you come across Lu Miaoli, Mao Yi, 12 years old and 23.99? I have not. I guess this is like a new player from China or maybe somewhere else. But I have not heard her name before, and obviously that's very impressive. If you're 12 years old and rated like 2,400 FIDE, you've got a lot of years to grow. So
Yeah, that's right. Peak
yeah.
rating 2362, November 2022, age 12. Wow.
Where is she
Yes.
from?
She is from China. And
From
apparently
China.
she's one of 2 girls under the age of 14 rated above 2250 FIDE,
Wow.
along with Alice Lee. I'm surprised there's not more. Huh.
Wow, that is strange. I
But,
thought
the
chess was getting more
pandemic,
popular. Yeah.
well,
The
I think the
pandemic.
pandemic hurt some rating
Yeah.
increases for some people, right? I think that's why, you're going to see some big jumps in the next year or two because there were some players that were not able to play as much in those like
Oh,
crucial.
interesting. It's daughter of Shu Yuan. Now, there's so many
Okay.
Chinese players, but yeah, like so she's a daughter of a chess player, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. So Shu Yuan. Now, who is which Chinese player is that exactly, Jen? Because the name is
She
familiar to me.
It is. She's a WGM, but I've heard her name from somewhere else as well.
Huh.
Maybe I played her in one of like the World Juniors or something. I think I did. I think I might have played her in like the World Junior or something. Yeah, because I definitely recognize her name.
Wow.
She's also, yeah. I have to look for that, but I think I mentioned her at one point in Chess Queens. Indeed,
Oh, wow.
like
Interesting.
I quoted her in
So
that. I need to.
she's a little bit older than me, just a couple of years older, and her rating is over 2,300. So she's got a little daughter who is already higher rated than her. That's pretty cool. I would say she's doing a great job as a mom training her. Yeah, I mean, there are these young players. They're so young that we haven't heard of them yet. But thanks for mentioning her, Lu Maoyi. So we will keep an eye out for her games.
And it does show how the next generation, who are going to be like learning chess often from their moms, not just their dads.
Yeah,
It's great to hear.
that's pretty cool. I agree. Why don't we have leagues in the US? It's barrier to pursuing professional chess. Why don't we have that here? Um, well, I have some theories about that. Like overall, Jen, it feels like well, first of all, we don't really have corporate sponsorship for chess in the US, right? That's one issue. I think in Europe in general and probably in China as well, like they have more of this tradition of like these clubs and football clubs, and I guess that extends to chess clubs and all these leagues. We don't have that tradition in the US, right? So um and to make it strong, you would really need some corporate sponsorship, I think, to attract the top players. Because without the very top players, it's hard to make it a super interesting league. I don't know. So those are my thoughts. That we just don't really have that structure in the U.S. for league play. What do you think,
Well,
Jen?
yeah, it's a big country. I mean, that's why when my brother started the U.S. Chess League, which later became the Pro Chess League, now it's on part of Chess.com. When it was online based from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, there's so many good things about chess in the United States right now. I mean, the
Hmm.
national championship prize funds are very, very nice.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of things that U.S. chess has on its side, even if there are some things we lag behind in, like leagues.
Yeah. And I mean, I have to tell you, like, my personal opinion, Jen, is like leagues are not the interesting part of chess. Like, I mean, I follow, a little bit the European, obviously the games in Bundesliga, you can see them in the database, but I don't find it to be like a very interesting event, like which team that has, you know, gather the strongest players from around the world. Like the team that has the most money wins the league. The same team wins every year. It doesn't carry a lot of suspense. Like I don't really get it. Like I get the interest of, like for example, online Nations Cup with the top teams in the world competing against each other with like a women's board and a junior board. Like I thought that was a super interesting tournament. I think when you have countries clash, you can see like what's at stake. There's national pride. Like when you have like league play where you're just like stacking your team with like whoever, whatever strong players from around the world, but there's no like particular, allegiance or connection with the team you're playing for. I don't know. I don't see like I don't see what's at stake there, Jen. Maybe you can explain it to me.
Well, I mean, I think that people just like there's the camaraderie of the team, but there are so many great chess events. I mean, it's like you really get to pick and choose these days. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet. So
Yeah.
many. I mean, from the speed chess championships that are coming up soon to casual to Fisher random to like classical. It's like it's great to see there's really something for everyone. Just such a golden age for chess fans. By the way, we got a
Yeah.
few more moves on the board. We 5 moves away now from the 40th, and Bishop H4 played here by Ani Muzychuk.
Yeah, I guess, we are heading towards that kind of position where black just, sheds these pawns.
You
Um,
think?
like, yeah, like last
if king,
year's fur, and gets the king over here. Yeah.
but do we have to go for that? Like, what? Because right now, like, let's say we play king e6 here, you can't take my pawn because of bishop g6 check, right? So that's cool.
Okay. Yeah, that's
And
nice.
if you play c4, maybe I can play like bishop h5 and go after the little guys before you get your king in.
Yeah.
And just to make it easier, I mean, maybe it's easier the other way. I don't know, but like,
So Seth says he just selfishly wants more of these young talents to stick with chess. Well, I think in that case, then let's just do a Fisher Random, U.S. Championship, and do the Blitz and Rapid Championships. And already you're going to get like a calendar that is going to be like much more full with like events that are just it's going to feel more relevant than just some kind of team play. Although I have to say, Jen, that I did think that, obviously I was involved in the U.S. Chess League that Greg founded. I thought it was a great concept. I really enjoyed being part of it for years, managing the New York Knights team and playing for it. And I think, I think the Pro Chess League is interesting. In fact, that's the thing. I actually think the online play is more exciting than somehow, I don't know, the Bundesliga matches, or the whatever other club events they have in Europe. Like, I think somehow because they're more accessible, you can watch it. Like, it's not like we have any sort of broadcasts of Bundesliga matches, right? That's the other thing. They really don't get any visibility in terms of commentary, while with the U.S. Chess League and the Pro Chess League we do, and also the games are faster, right? So you can make these sort of team events more. You can make them interesting for sure.
But Seth wanting more young people to stick with chess. I mean, I have mixed feelings because I think that a lot of times it's good for people to play chess and then kind of move on to something else, especially if they're like super successful and find another passion. I mean, you see that a lot of the time. These girls who are very, very strong chess players in their youth, in their early 20s, end up going to really great universities and doing something else. Like, I think that's good too. And it's great if they can also continue playing chess because they're so passionate about it.
I agree. For the most part, I think these days you probably have to make a decision very early on about, whether you're going to be a professional player or not. Yeah, certainly by the time you're around, 18 years old would be a good time to make that decision. And, often you're already on that path, like even a few years earlier. So, by that time you kind of know what you want to do. And for a lot of people, it just makes sense to go to college and pursue other things.
Yeah. So I can really see that. Some of them sticking with chess for a longer time. I have noticed that a lot of people don't give up chess anymore when they go to college. And I think part of it is this kind of lifeline of online chess, whether it's watching the events for people who are like not professional, or whether it's actually playing in some of these serious events for the players like Carissa Yip, Jennifer Yu. It really allows you a little bit more of like a link to chess, even if you delve yourself into like the college life as well. So I'm optimistic. By the way, it looks like we have a few more moves. Bishop c6 and c4 were both played. Okay.
It's the pawns have started moving, but remember, guys, they can't go anywhere without the king. So you cannot move there. Going there doesn't help. Neither does that help. So I think black will just play bishop e8 for now and wait to see when this king moves, and then maybe the king will start going to b7.
Right. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if we can get in our bishop h5 idea so that you can't just, go up to a5 at your will.
Oh, that's interesting, Jen. You want, like, when the king is there, you want to try to catch him.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like reminds me of pin the donkey by the tail. It's like you want to get the tail of that pawn king.
Yeah. So you can't move forward. In which case, maybe the king would just have to stick around on d2.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
why don't they just offer a draw? Well, first of all, they're definitely going to play until move 40. White will try a little bit, and I do think there will be a fairly quick draw in
After
this.
move 40?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's only one real plan for white, so let's try it. Let's try king d2. But then you actually have to also consider that I might just move up my king. I mean, why not? I mean, oh, let's see that. You go that way. And I guess you're saying like it's not so obvious that I can try to queen my pawn because you're pretty fast too. Interesting. This game could still get exciting. So, okay, let's say I attack your bishop. And you go here, and I go here. And I don't know, a5? What's the idea? I guess the idea is to like walk in and win that pawn. Okay, sure, go ahead. Let's do it. Or the idea is to, yeah, I mean, that must be the idea. So let's try king e2, king e2, king e2, bishop g3, and I wanted to do king d1 here. Let's do king d1. So I'm just going with my pawn. How bad can it be, Jen? Like you can take, I go there, you go back,
Yeah.
I go there.
Can't be too bad.
I mean, it's, well, I mean, okay, I guess only black risks anything in these kinds of lines. Of course, you know, white cannot win. I'm sorry, only, you know, black cannot win these positions, right? That's what I'm trying to say. But it does seem like you make it just in time, but it's a little tricky. Like I wouldn't necessarily love to be black here and figuring this out. Like for example here, like it certainly feels like, oh, black can lose. Of course, white risks nothing. Yeah, like look at this line, Jen. You just have to give up that pawn. Yeah, I mean, I think she will try to avoid positions like that. I just feel like it's so unnecessary to try to draw as black in this type of line. So she probably is not going to want to make it crazy. And let's see what happens. So after bishop e8, bishop g3, we're still thinking. Yeah, I really feel like just kind of giving up these pawns at some point. You know, you just do it.
Yeah, but also like
recognize
say
the drawing setup.
Yeah, like say we give up the pawn or whatever, king e6 or king e4. Now we have bishop g6 check again.
Yeah.
And then bishop c2. So yeah, like this should be
that
fun.
actually is just a total draw. Yeah.
Exactly. Insta draw, right? So
yeah. So bishop g3, just king e6 makes sense. And she's still thinking about it. But yeah, it's a nice little king move.
I mean, I guess you could play bishop h2. And then I have to go king f6. Same thing though. But that would allow you the d5 square. Basically, that's the only difference. 13 minutes left now for Lei Ting Che.
What do you think about homeschooling, Jen?
Well, I mean, oh my God, I think you'd have to be so great for it. I mean, my son is now going to public school in Philadelphia, and I mean, it's just amazing. We feel so fortunate. I mean, the teachers are great. Socializing with the other kids is wonderful. I can imagine if you're like a rock star educator / also, I think the issue is like the parents would probably have to have a situation where they have so much time and so much expertise. But like, sure, I'm sure there's people out there that could replicate it. But I'm just really, really happy, especially coming out of the pandemic years where it was like harder, And I feel really lucky that he's actually going into kindergarten this year.
Oh, wow.
Because missing kindergarten, a couple of years ago or having to do it online would have been really hard.
Oh, so, yeah, that's not a great experience for kindergarten.
So we feel really fortunate. There's just like so many great activities at our school, so many great parents. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, okay. Bishop h5 played.
You were homeschooled for a few years, right? In your high school years?
I wouldn't call myself homeschooled. I would say I did some independence learning. Like I didn't have like any sort of, I mean, I wasn't unenrolled from school. Let's put it like that. I was always enrolled in school, and I always was going through the regular school system and, getting my requirements from school. So I never, actually was never like out of the school system, but I just had arrangements in the school that, the principals allowed where I could do more of my more of my work independently, and also have more flexible attendance. And I was just able to basically just do self-study. Like I was doing the school work, but just mostly on my own. And that works out well. I was happy for that experience. It did give me kind of an easier time in my high school years and more a chance to focus on chess and actually do a lot of traveling when I was like 16, 17 years old.
Oh yeah, I remember. I mean, you were a real child prodigy. So like, you were playing in the Olympiad, I think, even when you were 16.
Yeah,
So
14 even. Yeah.
yeah, so to play in all the U.S. chess championships, so you had a lot of. It would have been difficult for you to also go to high school all the time. Even me, like I had to take off a lot of time from high school, and it was okay. I was able to make it work. But I think nowadays they're a little stricter with attendance, so it might have been
Yeah.
hard for me, especially since I was like really serious about my studies.
Yeah, it's kind of too bad that there's so little flexibility for young sports people, right? That you just like have to all, fit into the same mold. Like you gotta, I know that top chess players, like sometimes they just don't get time off from school to play things like the U.S. Championship, which I think is, insane. Like if you're so good at something, especially, if it's an intellectual activity, but it pretty much, I mean, anything, right? If you're so good at it that you're like the best in the country, your school telling you, no, you got to be there to go through the same, classes that everyone else is doing. I don't know, see how that makes any sense. I mean, to not have some sort of flexibility for people who are excelling at things. But yeah, it's actually a thing that like schools would just refuse to give those 2 weeks off for someone to play a top tournament like that. And, fortunately that wasn't my story. And yeah, I remember what a total waste of time the school activities were. Like I took a class on, it was AP history. And this was a class with a lot of work, right? A lot of writing, like hours of writing every night. And at some point I was like, look, I'm just not going to do this anymore. I know the material, I'll take your test, but I'm not going to spend like 2 hours every day, writing these things out. Like I can show you my notes for the test, like I do them, but I can't do these assignments. And that was fine. I still did really well in the class, without doing that work because the teacher understood, she understood that like I knew the stuff and the busy work was not necessary. But, unfortunately, and not everyone gets those permissions these days.
Yeah, well, there is a movement for less homework so that kids can pursue independent study and to like kind of like equalize the playing field a little bit, allow kids more sleep. So yeah, we'll see how that continues. I mean, I imagine also some of these girls who go to very competitive high schools like Carissa Yip, I think she went to an extremely famous high school. It was like really well known. And I'm not sure how much of it the choice is hers. It's, to miss out on, those weeks can also be very precious for some kids. Like you think about some of the things that you miss because of chess and in my case, poker.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. It's like
I don't know, Jen.
Personal decision. Yeah.
What could be more important than like a U.S. championship if you're a competitive chess player? I don't know. Is it that really important school dance? I don't.
Carissa Yip is at Stanford right now, and she chose to play the Olympiad, but not the U.S. Championship, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm sure that was her choice.
Yeah. Well, that's a choice. Yeah. Once you're in college, of course, it's actually very hard in your first semester, I think, in college. And I would also try not to do that because, you want to get adjusted and you want to get to know your teachers before you ask them to go away for a couple of weeks. So I do understand that decision. I just mean more like, when when you're not even given the choice, that's, I think, from my point of view, problematic.
Yeah, I mean, going to the freshman year in Stanford, the people you meet then, I mean, they could end up being people that you found companies with, right? So
Right.
in the short term, it might seem like it actually is a difficult decision. I can imagine. I took a gap semester in NYU because I think I was invited to the World Championship in India and Istanbul, the Olympiad, and
Mm,
I didn't want to have to choose between the two. So luckily, I was able to take a little time off.
that
But
was a good
yeah.
idea. Yeah.
So let's see. E3 check has been played. So the idea is just to go get behind the pawns, right? So this should be a draw pretty quickly, huh? We're at move. We're at
Yeah.
move
I guess
38 now.
so if the king takes the pawn, it's an obvious draw. So like if the king goes
Yeah,
this
right.
way, and then again we can fulfill your dream of putting the bishop behind the pawn. So now this pawn can't move.
That's right.
The king can't really move there. I mean, white also really does have to kind of consider that sometimes you can use your king to help support the pawn. So I really don't think, I think she will take on e3. I think she will. I think she's not going to let that pawn stay alive. You know, so I think the game is likely to end in a couple of moves.
I agree. I think that they are intent now on the draw, and both players are okay with that. They come to terms with it. Tomorrow, Lei Ting-che would have the white pieces, regardless of the result, of course, but it's looking more and more like a draw.
She played a really good game today. She really did. I mean, she was under pressure because Anna came with good preparation.
That's right, yeah.
Lei was just playing on her own against a fairly new idea. So I think that she can be very satisfied with her effort today and psychologically feeling good, like that she just dealt with the problems over the board and never really gave Anna much of a chance. I mean, we know Anna had a bit of an initiative, but overall it never became problematic. But look at that. Anna is like, nope, I'm not giving you that easy draw. Let's go king c3. Okay, cool. So bishop d1 is what we're expecting. It's very logical.
That's right, and that will be move 39. So just one more move to make. Bishop d1 has been played, as now she's trying to place her bishop in a beautiful way, to stop the easy acceleration of those pawns.
Well, the new idea in general, I think, was the capture on c6, followed by queen d3 to g3. That's not a novelty, but it's definitely a recent idea, only really introduced in the last couple of years. And if it's not something that's featured in Anna's games, which I don't think it has, then I would say that's called introducing a new idea. And then she also came with some novelties on top of that, like this a4 move. So it was clear that Anna had some ideas, but Lei just was pretty much unperturbed, and I think she dealt with it really well. And Anita says Lei has been really solid. No one has had true winning chances against her yet. So, okay. I think the person who's had winning chances against her was Maria Muzychuk in that game 3. She really had big winning chances in that third game. But yeah, that was only one game. So are you there, Jen?
Yeah, yes. I'm just looking over. I'm just catching up here with our Twitch chat as Asaya says, I love trading queens because I can't lose them that way.
Yeah.
That's one way to look at it. But no, you can still queen a pawn and then lose that queen. So yeah. So you don't get away so easily.
Well, let's see what Anna is going to come up with here. So, okay. Does she move the king somewhere? Does she what pawn does she even push? And I don't know, c5 maybe? Let's just go c5. Yeah. I don't know, let's go c5. It seems logical.
Pushing c5, you mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's push. And now,
okay, yeah.
I guess black should probably just go back with the king and just
Yeah, just stop
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So that
Yeah, and then like c7, king c7, bishop e5 check, and it's just a wholesale trade of everything.
yeah. So I think that makes sense. I mean, if you're not going to go c5, what else do you really have here? What could be the plan, Jen?
If
I
you
don't
don't
see
play
it.
c5,
Yeah, I just don't see the plan. I mean, okay, black will put the pawn there, sure, why not? And just kind of
I
sit
mean,
on this position.
king d3, e2, king d2.
Yeah, but then you lose all these these guys.
Yeah,
When you
you'll
get
lose all
attacked.
those. Yeah, there's nothing. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry. I would have to play c5 first at some point there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. She's about to make that 40th move. I saw her hovering
Mm.
over the piece.
Mm.
And there it is. She's played a5. Okay. So she played
Yeah,
a5.
I mean, there's
Get that
again,
pawn out of the attack.
even if you play b4, I mean, yeah, there's so many moves here. Like I could probably even play king e4. I very much doubt like I'm in any trouble because my king is pretty good here. The moment you play here, I go either bishop e2 or bishop a4. So the idea is if you try to break with this move, I am just going to take and like this. I'm actually in time. Oops, like that. Bishop c4, and I just stop your pawn in time. Just
Plenty of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, a5, king e4 looks like a smart one. I like what your point about b4, just bishop e2, because then your king's stuck there pretty much, and obviously c5 doesn't save the day either. So.
Oh, no, she didn't play. She didn't play a move yet. We are waiting to see what what Lei is going to do. But she can really just do anything. I mean, this move is fine. This move is fine. It's actually impossible to really make a bad move. I mean, like I can go e2. It's all fine, right? Like there's no problems in this position. So, okay, we're just waiting on Lei's choice here. If you guys have questions for us, feel free.
This is a good time. Yeah, this would be a good opportunity. Absolutely. Good point.
When we're in the stage of the game, we just beg you guys for questions.
Let's see. I love trading kings. Can't lose that way.
Yeah, there's okay, so the king, you can even give up this pawn. At this point, you can also just get your king here because there's only one breakthrough, which is never going to happen. Okay, yeah, they just signed the score sheets, guys. Before your questions came in, they decided to wrap up this game. And what can I say? I feel like both players can be satisfied. Again, a game without any huge chances for either side, right? So very high level of accuracy. I think Lei, obviously playing with the black pieces, can be a little bit more satisfied. And she has white tomorrow. She wasn't able to do much against the Grunfeld. I think these players in this match, Jen, we really have seen a lot of end games, which is a bit unusual. And I mean, the openings are exciting, but we're just seeing a lot of end games kind of straight from the opening. So I really would like to see just a real middle game between them tomorrow.
I would love that. Yes. Beautiful, especially to Grunfeld. Such a dynamic opening. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. This has been really interesting. Even though it was a draw, it gave us a lot of rich ideas that some of which I'd never seen before, like that G4 idea, the middle game. Well, the queenless middle game. Also, just in general, the struggle that Lei Teixeira had to draw this game. Well, it's 1.5, Irina. So tomorrow is the game to determine whether we will have a advancement in this stage or whether we're going to have to break it with a tiebreak on Sunday.
Yeah, guys, let us remind you that the Global Chess Championships are in progress. And today is the beginning of the semifinal rounds. We got Hikaru versus Wesley. We got Nihal Sorin versus Anish Giri. And they're fighting for a $200,000 first prize. So you can just go over to twitch.tv/chess and follow the great commentary by the chess.com team. And we will see you guys tomorrow morning, same time, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific.
That's right, Irene. And we're actually going to rate them right now. So thanks again to everyone watching and to everyone behind the scenes. We appreciate it.